Mageshear. You spoke to the inhabitants of the Longgate Cemetery. And they asked you to assist them in investigating strange happenings within the catacombs beneath their temple, which you did, and found various undead creatures, um, and a necromancer as well, who died. And you found an interesting bit of information off of a page of a journal, and you know that he was at least attempting to get rid of a lot of things as he was throwing them into a portal, including he was trying to get himself through that portal, but Arvid made sure that that did not happen.
No.
Um, but yeah, it was a combat heavy session, so there wasn't a whole lot of story detail to rehash. So basically, we ended the last session with you guys returning to the surface um, of the catacombs, back up into the temple, and you can see that it's been a number of hours that it took you to be down there, um, and it is still early in the year. And while Mageshear is, I don't know how equatorial it is. I would imagine it's probably pretty close to in line with like where Iman is. If I'm thinking of it in my head correctly. Um, so I don't know how much. I don't think there would be necessarily a lot of snow in the general area, but it would get relatively cold. And at this point, as you're coming up, um, it's getting late in the evening, and it has you notice that it has obviously been raining quite a bit as you've been down there. Um, the streets are kind of muddy. Um, as you come up, you can see like Aster's probably running around, jumping in puddles like dogs like to do, rolling around, getting dirty. So yeah, that's where we are. You guys can do what you want to do.
Um, if I recall correctly, Griswold did end up just storming off. So I'm assuming he will be up there first.
Ragnar followed after him, so
Okay.
he would be near.
Yeah, he would go up, and go around looking for whoever one of the clerics were, one of the keepers were that sent us down.
Yep. Yorvir is the head of the temple.
Okay. If I'm able to find him, the first thing I'm going to ask is, I'll go up and I'll say, the woman who went down with us, she came up before we left. Is she okay?
Oh yeah, yeah. She we saw her heading back to her room.
Well, I'll wait for everyone to get here. But do you have do you have anyone who can give me a look over? I feel odd. I feel weaker than normal. After fighting some of these things.
Yeah, we'll have Frey take a look at you.
And he'll just, wherever he is, he just sits, falls to the ground and just sits.
And I guess at that point, Ragnar could show up and kind of look down at him and say, "Are you okay?"
Something with those creatures. It feels like they took a bit of energy, or did something to me. I feel off. And you can see he's like sweaty and clammy, and he looks like he's sick. But yeah, he looks like shit.
I feel like, if I remember correctly, we tried lesser restoration. Or
Yes.
Arvid did. Okay.
Yeah.
Then Ragna is going to attempt lay on hands with 5 HP to cure the target. This one's just poisons, though, so I don't think it would work.
It says disease or poison. Yeah.
Yeah, it would not do anything, unfortunately.
Yep. And she would just say, did that help, maybe?
It's not like pain or anything. I can't tell. I feel drained. I feel tired. It's something, and it doesn't feel like anything has changed.
Something necrotic, then, I suppose. I'm sorry, I don't know much about that.
It's fine. I'm sure the people who take care of this temple, they should know something.
That's true.
Hopefully it's not something a little sleep can't fix.
He'll look up and just give a bit of a nod and just, it's an odd feeling. I don't feel hurt ever since you guys bandaged me up down there. It's just I feel weak.
Well, it kind of fits the MO of undead creatures. It kind of good at draining vitality.
Gross. You mean they targeted his life source?
Yeah, that's us. And I tried to reverse it with the with a restoration spell, but unfortunately I could only muster it to a lesser degree. And clearly, it's not had the intended effect.
Well, he said that Freya will give me a look over and perhaps eat something. If not, I think best idea would be what Sidney suggested, and just maybe some sleep.
The whole time this conversation is happening, Callum is just reading and rereading this page from the journal that he has come up with.
For now, we can go find a place to rest, or perhaps they have somewhere on this compound we can sleep in.
I believe our acquaintance is sorting that out for us.
Ah, okay.
So, speaking of, anyone who would be generally paying attention to your surroundings, I suppose, make a perception check.
Yeah, that would definitely not be Griswold.
I think it wanted me to roll a 23.
It would seem so. So you can see outside of the gates there, again, that the roads are quite muddy and slippery, and you can see that coming towards the cemetery from the west is the Bard Alley. And you can see coming the other direction, there are two rather large men, and you can see why I had the perception just so that you could tell it was her, although she is somewhat easy to spot. She's small, but she's got her hood up, and she appears to be not paying any particular attention. She's kind of looking down the rain, I guess, trying to keep the rain out of her eyes, and she's walking right towards these two rather large men, and you can see that as they get close, she kind of bumps into this guy, and he pushes her down to the ground, and he's like, "Out of my way, runt!" And she falls into the mud and gets all covered. And you can see as she gets up, she doesn't look back at this guy, and you can see from under the hood a big grin on her face as she comes walking towards the rest of you, covered in mud. For actually Arvid and Signy, make another perception check as well.
Yeah, she's just pickpocketed this bloke, hasn't she?
Oh yeah. Both of you, you notice that. So she, as she's walking, you can see, and with that smile on her face, she kind of, from the inside of her cloak, you can see that she's kind of jingling and tossing a little bag of money that she has just lifted off of that man.
Allie, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little muddy.
Well, you definitely taught those gentlemen the price of being rude, didn't you?
Yeah, just kind of a habit, kind of a hobby, but
Oh, I'm not
Go
going to
teach them
complain.
whose runt you are. Signet pops up and starts marching off after those assholes.
No, wouldn't do that.
yeah, probably. I'd rather them not start coming back and looking for money or anything.
Goes and punches a tree instead, or whatever's available.
Yeah, there's some trees there. So, how did everything go? Did you? I don't know. Find what you were looking for. I don't know what you were looking for. Did you find what? I don't know. What's happened? What did you do?
Oh, we defeated some followers of Orcus, I believe it was.
That sounds scary.
And I suppose we have some sort of lead on the connection between Orcus and Neru's followers. And she glances back at Callum.
That would be enough to at least get Callum to look up for a second at the mention of it. Just yes, there's a lot to unpack here.
Well, when you find anything out from those documents, feel free to share with the class.
Or if you need help thinking, I mean, I admit it's not my strongest suit, but I can try to help.
Certainly. Unfortunately, none of this is something that I was particularly proficient in either, naturally.
What are you good at?
Callum's a monk, so not a lot. Acrobatics, animal handling, insight.
So nothing.
Lots of nothing. Insight, medicine. Good at medicine. Good at perception, but not as good as Arvid.
Dude, we have so much goddamn overlap.
Yeah. Stealth, survival. And religion with my dump stat.
Ooh, I don't have that.
In any case, definitely seems this may not have been one of Neryl's underlings specifically, but based on this, it looks like they are likely active in this area. He says here that he was here looking to interfere with this Magrius. Does that name ring any bells, by the way, Matt? The way it's referenced in the letter seems like it might.
Do a religion check.
Ragna will also do a religion check.
I'll guide.
Ragna doesn't know.
23.
Yeah. One of the. I would say you're aware that there would be multiples, or various rather, children of Nerul, and Magrius is one of them. One of the more famous ones, we'll say.
And any sort of read on how important being a child of Nerul would be. Is this Joe Blow on the street? Is this a demigod?
Yeah, would be pretty much like a demigod.
I've heard of Magrius, so one of the many children of Nerul. Quite the powerful entity. If he's active here, something must be happening. But unfortunately, with just this letter, there's not enough information to say what, other than that he's about.
Yes, or even where specifically.
Yeah, about's a relative term. About can just mean this plane of existence.
I mean,
I would say also with a 23, um, Magris would be considered an Empyrean.
okay. Yep.
So definitely not here.
I mean, could be here. This is, the age
They-
of Arcanum, but
They can,
is
they can be
definitely above our pay grade.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure an Empyrean is like the second to last combat encounter in the one module that goes all the way to level 20.
I mean, Empyreans are the children of gods. That's just what they are. So it's like,
Yeah.
and you would know that Nerul probably, I mean, no one alive would have ever really been in the presence of Nerul himself. If anybody
Mhm.
is, you know, if obviously he has cultists and all that to do his bidding, but if you were to face off against, uh, you know, Magrius or an Empyrean, one of his children would be about as close as anyone had probably ever been to the actual god himself, because the way that the way I sort of view the Age of Arcanum is that like you would have the gods having it like aspects of themselves appear. You know, a part of their energy could appear on the prime material plane and interact with people, but you would never really truly be face to face with the god themselves unless you purposely went to go after them like Vox Machina did. But yeah, Empyreans would be about as close as anyone would have been to most gods, for sure.
Apparently, this follower of Orcus was attempting to draw out some of Nerul's necromancers, or Magrius himself, with his activities here.
I sort of wish that we were able to hop into that portal to at least see where it went.
Hmm.
Dangerous, but it would have given us answers quite quickly.
Oh.
Or with this information, we could have simply let the work continue for a while and see if he was successful in drawing something more helpful to himself. Still,
I believe he called Magrius. I don't have the letter up. I believe he called Magrius a fool.
Yep.
And Magrius does sort of have a reputation for being I guess, a barbarian, thinking after the fact. You just do what you want to do and then think about the consequences afterwards. So he's considered to be quite reckless, generally effective, but probably doesn't go about things the way that Nerul would generally want them to be done, with some stealth and, a light touch.
In any case, from what I do know of Magrius, it seems that if he was particularly active here, Although this Orcus follower's activities may have inadvertently masked any such machinations.
Well, and I would advise, just in general, don't jump into random portals after strange men. It's probably a bad idea.
And Allie's just kind of like nodding her head, like, yep, that sounds bad.
I do have to agree with that. As useful as more information would be. But following would have been, well, a good way to have this quest end early.
So does the plan continue, or do we have to make altercations?
It's a good question.
As a side note, I did a little bit of tweaking to Allie as well, made her more of a character versus an NPC, since like I said, I anticipated she was just going to show up like randomly. But so she is a College of Lore bard. So if you need a little extra boost on like a history check, she might be able to help out.
Griswold will kind of just, well, we've got information from here. I think once we get all patched up and prepared, I don't see why we wouldn't continue on with the plan.
I suppose, one question. And she looks at Callum and is like, is there any particular place on the material plane you know where Magrius might be active, even in the past?
God? Is there a place that Kala would know of on the material plane that Magrius would have historically been more active?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, we'll just call it what it's called in the current Exandria lore. I don't know if it would have been called that during the Age of Arcanum, but to the south east is a chain of a bunch of broken islands called the Shattered Teeth. He would have been, I guess, seen there.
Responsible for shattering those teeth,
Well,
theoretically,
but he would have been there, and there's a landmass north of Wildmount that I haven't officially given a name, where he would have potentially been seen as well as obviously more often than not the Shadowfell.
I think Callum would share that information then.
All signs pointing to the Shadowfell.
We did have something pointing us in that direction, didn't we? What was it? Can't place it at the moment.
We had visions of the Shadowfell when you were in the Feywild.
Right.
Yep.
Well,
So,
in any case, I suppose Magrius isn't exactly known for being subtle, so there's really no anything we could have stirred up here will have driven to ground this intrusion, and without a stronger lead to go on, I think it may be best that we leave it be, let them feel a bit safer for the moment.
Well, also take into account that the more you keep messing with aspects of the rule, whether it's his cults or whatever, the more likely you're bound to draw some higher attention.
Well, I have considered that, but as it stands, it seems that we've only interfered with an adversary of his, not an ally, accomplice. So I doubt that these exchanges thus far would be enough to attract his ire, unfortunately.
Something that I've picked up in the jobs that I've been on, it's usually not smartest to go straight for the head. You find ways to make them weaker before you have to face them, so perhaps looking for underlings may be of better time usage.
That is fair. And without any further leads, I suppose it makes sense to continue on our quest as I agreed to as well.
That sounds good.
I mean, currently you have what? 5 names of pretty powerful underlings of Nerul. So, you started
Yeah.
at the top.
Yeah. We got Magrius, we have the Arenyas, we have what is his name?
Thanatos.
I know Thanatos, but the one that the thing says is the
Moors.
right name. Moors,
Yeah.
that's right, thank you.
Because within D&D lore, Thanatos is actually one of the levels of hell.
Yeah. So Arenyas, Moors, now Magrius. Still all quite high up the chain.
Going after the Greek pantheon.
Also, I know, Caleb, you said you're rather interested in the keeping souls out of the possession of Nerul, yes?
Yes, that is
Oh.
the primary goal of all this, I suppose.
When I was in the Hells, in servitude, the more powerful creatures would consume some type of soul. I don't know where they came from or where they went, but that it's just something that I thought of a couple of days ago. That they would use souls as like somewhat of a delicacy.
I feel I
Allie
did come.
Allie pipes up and she's like, "So how that is interesting. How does that work? So like demons want souls, and then devils like make pacts with people for souls, and then Nerul takes souls, and then what about just regular people when they die? What happens to their souls? Like, it seems complicated."
As far as I understand it, all souls, except for those possibly claimed by devils and demons, go to Nerul and empower him. And that is why I consider it so imperative to protect the lives of those around us. It is a means of cutting off his supply, so to speak.
My question is, what happens to the souls after the devils or demons are done with them? As I said, I did see them consume and draw energy from them, so what happens at that point?
It is a good question. Not one I've explored much, but it's an interesting topic for research if we get the opportunity, I suppose.
And I'm gonna look. Ooh, God.
No, good.
I'm gonna look to Ragnar. I'm just gonna say, and your new friend, and I'll just put my finger underneath my eye to like point where her tattoo is. She's no fan of devils, if I'm correct. Yes.
Yes.
Maybe you could. I don't know how any of it works, but perhaps if she had any information on what happens to the souls down there.
And try talking with her tonight.
More information is good, and we seem to be gathering plenty of it, but just still looking to fill in the missing pieces on what is the next step.
And Allie will pipe up. So I've been at the Red Hat. It's a pub over there, and I met a few interesting people, but I met this old lady, and her name is Gertrude, and she has a grandson who's a mason, and he wants to open up his own like masonry business, and her husband used to own a magic shop, but he passed away a long time ago, and she just closed the shop. It's like she like lives above the shop, and she just closed it and whatever. But she wants to sell some stuff now because she wants to help her grandson open up his masonry business. And she said that she doesn't know about any of the magic stuff, and she doesn't know how much it's worth. And then I said that I knew some people that might be interested, and that you would probably not attempt to take advantage of her, and we can go over there if you want to look at that stuff.
Great call. Lead the way.
Good work.
Give us one moment first. And hey, Griswold kind of finally just stands up and looks around and just, Freya.
Yeah. So Freya will say she's looked at you, and it's a long rest to get your
Okay. All right. He'll thank her, and kind of taking a page out of Callum's book, he'll drop 20 gold and just for like offerings to the temple.
I was like, well, you could have spent that at the shop. Okay, well, anyway, this place used to be called, and she like raises her hands like in a big motion. She's like, it used to be called the Billowing Bazaar, but I think it's just kind of run down and dusty at this point, so I don't expect a whole lot. She said that she doesn't really know what a lot of the stuff is, and that some of it is. She said that there wasn't a lot of weapons or anything like that, but just like trinkets and weird things like that. I don't know.
Allie, do you know much about Arcane?
A little bit.
And
studied a
I'll
little bit
pull
of
the
spelling.
dagger out that I found, and just this seems to be more than just a regular dagger. Is there anything you could tell me about it? And I'll hand it to her.
I don't have I don't have a spell to, like tell what things are, but I can take a look at it if you just leave it with me, and I'm sure I can figure it out.
Sure. Here, and I'll just hand it to her.
Okay. So she will spend time deciphering it without the identify spell, which she does not have. But yeah, if you guys just want to follow me, it's over here. This is where the Billowing Bazaar is, I guess.
Of course, lead the way.
And she goes, so did you guys, were you going to get on a boat somewhere? Did I understand that properly before you guys went down?
Yes.
That seems to be the short-term plan. Yes, we're headed south to a town.
I cannot remember the name.
I know.
Venambra.
Yeah. The pirate refuge.
With hopes of swinging through several points of interest to us on our way back to the north.
Yes, specifically Israel from the pirate town.
So, I'm glad that I was right, but I thought you said Zenembra, so I asked around about that as well, and nobody goes there. I mean, nobody respectable goes there because it's a pirate haven place. So
Good thing we're not respectable anymore.
but that's a good point, I suppose. But also, I mean, nobody goes there. So I did talk to a few people, and there is a captain who is here who would go there. Apparently, her ship was attacked by pirates on her way back up here, and she could use some people to help her. And so maybe we could talk to her after we go to the Billowing Bazaar.
That seems like a good idea. Thank you.
You seem to have this all planned out for us.
I just got
Excellent
lucky.
work.
She seems to be money well spent on hiring.
She kind of puffs her shoulders up a little bit and walks on to the Billowing Bazaar, and you get there and you can see that the entire building is pretty run down at this point. Like the windows are all, you can't even see through them. They're all like covered in dust, and she does a special little knock on the door. She's like, Gertrude told me to make this knock so she would know, and you got it. And a few minutes later, you can see the door opens up, and it like takes some force. Like you can tell that like the door's kind of stuck. It's been obviously closed for a very long time, and eventually the door kind of cracks open, and you see this very little old lady. I mean, she's a human, um, and kind of got small little like reading glasses that are on the tips of her nose, and says, oh, hi, these must be your friends. Come in.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And as you get in there, I mean, it smells dusty, and there's like mildew smell where like there've been leaks, and water just sat, and the floorboards are they kind of bend a little bit because of the wood rot, and it's kind of like you know it's very soft and kind of springy as you're walking. And it's not a huge shop, um, but you can see again stuff looks like it was basically just whenever her husband died, the last day that he worked there, it was just she never touched a single thing. Like everything is still sitting on the shelves where you assume that they probably have been for decades. Um, and she says, "Oh, just look around. Whatever whatever you think is interesting, just bring it on over to the counter."
Can I investigate stuff? Like,
Yep.
see if anything stands out to any of us?
Yes, sir.
I would also like to do that if possible.
While everyone else is inspecting all the lovely magical implements and mundane around us,
Ooh, 24.
Callum is happy to just find a little spot somewhere that he can kind of just sit down and think real hard, and there might be some audible snoring.
Here we
So,
meditating again.
Mm-hmm. I find it is good for calming one's nerves.
um, I'll say, we've got about 10 different things that would have sort of caught your eye, we'll say. Um, and each item has a little like a tag on it. Um, and it has a brief sort of description about kind of like what it is. Some of it seems a little bit like salesmanship, where it's describing a thing like, this was an ancient, item taken from blah blah blah. Like a bunch of like trying to give like a big long lore story about where these items came from. And most of those things you realize, okay, this is crap. This is not, none of this is true. Um, but you do find a few items, um, and I'll describe them to you. And if you would like to uh, inquire about purchasing them, you can do so. Um, but the first thing that you find is just a clay bowl, and it's chipped. It looks like it's made from like a fire blackened clay, and it's got some unintelligible runes on the inside of it. Um, and the description states that if it is filled with bones and left overnight, the bones will vanish, and 3 gold pieces take their place.
I'm interested in that.
That is fucking creepy.
Um, it also says that if watched, the bones remain untouched and no gold appears.
I don't know what kind of weird blood contract I have to make, but I do kill a lot of things when given the chance.
So, Signe, you can mark that down as interest. A clay bowl. That's what it's. That's. You also find a uh, cloak of the Winter Wolf. Currently, only Signe or Arvid could wear it. Requires attunement by a barb, a druid, or a ranger. While wearing this pelt, you have advantage on perception checks that rely on hearing or smell.
Definitely interested.
All right, we have a necklace called the Pendant of Amplification. It is a bronze amulet used by town criers, city watchmen, and arena announcers. While wearing this pendant, you may cause your voice to boom up to 3 times as loud as normal.
I mean, if
Don't
I
know how
want you, I
useful that
can
would be.
yell for you.
Um, The only weapon that you find is actually requires attunement by the man sleeping in the corner. Um, it is a staff of flurry blows. It's a magical quarterstaff. Uh, when attuned to this weapon by a monk, you may use your action to make a single melee attack against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you, spending 1 key point for each creature beyond the first.
Hey, Callum, wake up. I think I found something you're gonna like.
Hmm?
Yeah. It's a
Oh.
staff, and it's in the magic junk pile.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
And
you're
Callum will
the
just
only weirdo
immediately
I
just
know
start
who runs
like
around with a
settling
stick.
back into his seat and closing his eyes again.
So
Well,
next,
only pretend, Callum.
there
I
is
have no coin to buy it, even if I had a particular interest. But also, that coin is better spent elsewhere, in my opinion. No offense, of course, ma'am.
she sort of shrugs like, I don't really know what any of this stuff is. It's fine. There's a mask called the Visage of the Gods. Carved from stone, this ancient mask was used by cults to speak to forgotten gods. When you don this mask, you cast the spell Contact Other Plane. It was a 5th level spell. You are blinded and deafened as long as you are wearing the mask. If you fail the intelligence check of the spell, the mask cannot be removed until you regain your sanity. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, Contact Other Plane's a fun time.
Hey, Callum, we found something that let you talk in the rule.
Oh, that is eyes shoot right open. Is that so?
I swear I pulled these randomly, but it all feels very like Signe. You're the one that's going to enjoy most of these things. It feels like because the next is a petrified hand. It's hard to tell like what. I mean, it's like a humanoid hand. You don't really know. Like, could be an elf, could be
Yeah, nice.
whatever. But this petrified hand allows the bearer to speak with wolves, but only when the moon is visible.
Yeah, you know what? That's pretty cool too.
Would you be able to speak to Aster?
I mean,
Here, so.
As you're going through this, you start to notice a bit of a theme. You have the cloak of the winter wolf, you have this petrified hand with a wolf, and you find a mysterious pouch. This pouch contains an ounce of altered wolf's bane that attracts lycanthropes to the bearer.
ma'am, was your husband perhaps some sort of hunter?
In his earlier days, he was a bit of a hunter, I suppose.
You probably want to be very careful with this particular one.
Oh, it's been down here for years. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I like your spirit, ma'am.
The next item you find is a petrified starfish. A petrified red and purple starfish that makes the bearer impervious to losing their footing while aboard a sea vessel.
Eh.
So a lot of
Ragna
these are,
might need that.
yeah, so a lot of these again these are trinkets, not like actual like magical items. A lot of these are just kind of fun stuff. You also find a strange doll, a doll shaped like a pixie that makes the holder incapable of being pulled into the air or pushed off a cliff.
Arvid?
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, no, I don't know why, but for some reason this makes me think of you.
And finally, what would be of most interest to Griswold, you find a spell book from a wizard named Aaron Volodar, who was a famous transmutation wizard. He magically incorporated a part of himself into this book so that it could be used to teach fledgling wizards. However, most people found the book version of Aaron to be overbearing and obnoxious, and as such, these types of spellbooks were never really caught on.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great item for introducing an order of scribes, wizard.
Yeah, he'll
So
pick it up
also
and open it
within,
and
so yeah,
just look.
within this book, there are unsurprisingly transmutation spells. So there are cantrips level 1 and level 2 spells, since then that's the max, because they are, again, it was designed as a beginner's book essentially.
Okay.
So control flames, gust, mending, and message are the cantrips. Catapult, expeditious retreat, featherfall, and magnify gravity are the level 1 spells, and alter self, dark vision, enlarge, reduce, invisibility, earthen grasp, and spider climb are the level 2 spells.
Yeah, he will pick it up and just carry it around while he finishes looking at the rest of the stuff, and then approach the woman and just, I did find something I'd be interested in.
Oh, okay.
It says it's a beginner's book, so I I'll be honest, I don't have much experience with buying these kind of things, but what do you think would be fair?
Um, well, I, if I'm not mistaken, a normal spellbook costs 50 gold.
Yep.
Yeah. How about 35 gold pieces?
He'll kind of like look down in his pouch and start clicking around. He goes, uh, how about I'll give you 30, and then I'm gonna pull out all the chromatic roses I have, and I'll say, and how about one of these to go along with it? I am running a little bit low on gold, but these are magical themselves and can be very, very useful.
What did they do? I don't really want more magical items. I'm trying to get rid of them.
Griswold, I think you said they make you what, resistant to a certain type of stuff?
Yeah, they all have different
Yeah.
resistances.
So instead of that, Griswold's just gonna say, well, first of all, they never go bad. They will stay bloomed for as long as you want, and they can also be used to ward off harms that come your way.
All right, how about 30 gold and 2 of those?
Sure. I'll hold out the black, blue, white, red, green, and have her pick 2 of them.
So you take the red and the white one.
I will give them up.
And then I will put the spell
And
book
30 more gold.
I will put the spell book in your thing. I even gave you a picture for the spell book. I thought it'd be cool. I thought it was a
It
good
is.
looking spell book for a rogue.
It is. It looks like it's covered in blades. Neat.
Here, I'll show it to everybody else, so just you see what I'm talking about. All right. So, did anybody else want to get any of that weird stuff?
Can you reiterate what the weird hand was and what? Let's see. And the fur cloak help boost perception, right?
The petrified hand allows you to speak to wolves, but only when the moon is visible. And the cloak of the winter wolf does require attunement. The petrified hand does not. And it gives you advantage on perception checks that rely on hearing or smell. I feel like most perception checks are hearing or vision, I guess, not smell very often.
How much for this cool cloak?
I don't know. Make me an offer. I don't know. I don't know what that would be worth.
I'll be honest, I don't really have a lot of experience buying magic stuff either, so give me a minute to think.
Well, I think Callum had an interest in that mask.
Potentially. You said, Matt, that it casts sending, or not sending, contact other plane.
Yep. And I'll give you this. So like the petrified hand is basically just a trinket, so it doesn't really. It's going to be pretty cheap. The Cloak of the Winter Wolf is an uncommon, wondrous item. The Visage of the Gods, that mask, is a rare, wondrous item. That being said, so like uncommon items are usually like start around 500 gold. But again, this lady wants to sell things, and she's not gonna charge you retail price at this point. And she also doesn't know what these are worth. So you can probably swindle her. I don't want to necessarily put it that way, but you can certainly get these below retail price.
75 maybe?
Oh, that sounds good. My grandson will be very happy, no matter what I can provide with him. He's not aware. He doesn't really know that I'm doing this, but I just want to help him out.
You're very sweet.
So, are you taking the Cloak of the Winter Wolf?
I am. And I'd happily hand you the full 75. And how much for this weird, decrepit hand?
Ooh, how about 2 gold?
I'll give you 5.
That's very kind, sure.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I like that clay bowl too.
Yeah, my husband used to use that bowl a lot. I do know that is actually somewhat valuable since it does actually potentially create currency.
Give you 100 for it.
Well, I suppose it's just been sitting here. That would be all right.
Do you have just any other random junk that you're looking to get rid of?
Well, just everything that you see here is what I have.
Let's see. Can you post the descriptions of the stuff I bought in the chat, please?
It should be in your inventory now.
Oh, well, shoot, there we go.
Under important items, I just moved everything there. So all we got left is the doll, the starfish, the lycanthrope bait, the mask, the loud voice speaking necklace, and the staff.
What was the staff, just to sate my own curiosity?
Staff of Flurried Blows. Magical quarterstaff is a simple shaft of worn wood. As if a monk is attuned, you may use your action to make a single melee attack against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you, spending 1 key point for each creature beyond the first. So basically, you can just, if you're surrounded by 4 people, you can just attack them all.
Yeah, but I can already do that for 1 key point.
Let's see. I have a little money left. That's right. That's stick. Let's see. What's the mask do again?
Casts Contact Other Plane, while also making you blind and deaf.
Well, that doesn't sound fun.
With
And
the
also
chance of
you-
insanity.
Well, the spell is what potentially causes
Yeah.
insanity, but while you...
DC
if you
15 int save.
Yeah,
Or
if you go insane because of the spell, you also can't remove the mask until you are sane again. So, but it's a free
But-
5th level spell.
yeah, contact other plane is you contact a demigod, spirit of the long dead sage, or some other mysterious entity, which will answer like yes, no, maybe up to 5 questions.
So certainly a fun thing to have around.
It's effectively ask the DM 5 yes or no questions a day. Assuming you pass the int save.
Yes.
But the insanity also goes away after a rest. So, in any case, Callum's interest would have been piqued by the mask much more than the staff. I'm assuming since he is, even though he's not proficient with like magical anythings, because he is a monk, he might have a good understanding of what the staff does.
Yeah. I mean, there's a description on this stuff anyway, so we're just like, yeah.
So, I'm afraid that I don't have the coin for any purchases here, although I would note that these 2 items in particular seem particularly valuable. The staff, I know of a few people who might be interested in it. And I would hate to have someone take it from you for less than it's worth.
Also, Johan has 239 gold. I don't think he would necessarily want any of these things, but
he might want the mask, but
Would within him be another plane of existence?
so yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think that Ryan would be too upset if you guys borrowed money from Johan. If there's anything that you specifically wanted to purchase.
no.
I am good.
Callum is all set, though he would make a point of telling the lady, like, hey, the staff is something that some people would find valuable. I'm not very good with money, but I would guesstimate it's worth about this much, and you shouldn't sell it for less.
Well, hopefully I can find someone who would be interested then.
And the mask, even more so. Again, I'm not someone who knows much of magics, but that seems particularly potent and useful. I would expect the value of that to be significantly higher than the other items you have here as well. Again, I can't say specifics, but I would imagine we're talking potentially hundreds, maybe even thousands. I don't know. I would not feel comfortable buying that from you and potentially taking something of such great value.
Well, I appreciate your honesty.
This weird herb stuff you got here, I think you could sell that to a guild that likes to hunt down werewolves. I think your husband was a werewolf hunter in his youth. Which is really cool.
Allie is gonna buy the starfish.
What was the starfish?
Basically just means that she can't fall down when she's on a sea vessel.
Gotcha. That's right.
Don't have sea legs, huh?
It's just pretty.
Fair enough.
Well, in any case,
I'm gonna give you another 20 gold in case I underpaid.
Oh, well, thank you very much. My grandson will be very happy.
Callum just gives a approving nod.
Well, I might not be buying anything today, but if your grandson does decide he wishes to go into masonry, but doesn't wish to stay inside of the city, there's land a couple of days to the south west of here, where you could probably set up next to my farm.
Oh well, um, sure. I'll let him know.
Also, unfortunately, we aren't staying in town too much longer, but I've noticed you got some places that are soft in your floor here, here, and here. And this is like the reasonable price that you should get to get a carpenter to fix it, just so nothing bad happens.
Well, thank you. There's some carpenters here in the city. I'll see what I can do.
Perfect. Oh, man, I'm so happy. I finally get to talk with Aster.
That is a good point. It'll be interesting to gain such insights.
Yeah, like how she felt about just getting carted along with us. Thinking of Aster, ma'am, would you like to pet my dog?
And she kind of steps back a little bit. She's no, thank you. Very big.
Oh, but she's a sweetheart. Aren't you, sweetie? Oh, who's a good girl, Aster?
Signe, how long have you had Aster?
Uh, let's see.
About how old was she when you got her? I suppose is more relevant question.
8, 9 weeks, maybe?
Hmm.
So, I don't know, like about a year now, I think?
And before that, she was a wild dog?
Yep.
Her, uh, well, we're not exactly sure, but her pack attacked us, and she was the only one left over.
So she was with the pack at that point. Interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to hurt a precious little baby like her.
The possibility of having intelligent conversation with a creature of the wilds raises some interesting and uncomfortable moral dilemmas that I have long contemplated.
You guys realise I've been able to talk to her this entire time, right?
And you didn't tell me, you jerk?
I have been talking to her.
I'm just gonna
You've seen him talk
punch
to
him in the arm.
plants and trees.
Yeah, but he never explicitly said he could talk with Aster.
Well, you didn't ask.
You
We've
didn't
also seen him talk
indicate.
to her.
Yeah, but I mean, I talked to her.
That is a valid point.
Yes, but I can
Just-
actually understand her.
You're a jerk for not saying this the whole time.
I suppose now you can talk to her personally.
Hmm.
So
I
they
fear
just
I
kind
may
of
have to.
pout.
Harvard, I fear I may have to pick your brain on a few topics now that you point this out.
I mean, you've all seen me use some magic, but I've definitely not revealed all of my tricks.
Hmm.
And I will say, speaking with wild animals, speaking with the wolf, and speaking with Aster, it's not like she's like you sit down and have conversations with her. Like she's a smart animal, but I mean she's not I guess for lack of a term, she doesn't have a whole lot to say really. So it's not like you're
You
gonna
just
get
That
don't
was
want to
fun.
make another
I like
NPC.
food.
well. I mean, I'm happy with Allie being around, but I mean, it's a wolf. Like, what's she gonna do? She's not gonna like
I'm just
talk about.
picking at you. You're
I
good.
She's not
mean,
gonna talk about philosophy or anything, you know.
I always
Listen.
imagine talking to animals as like Doug from the film Up, just random words followed by squirrel.
Yeah, I mean,
Wasn't
I have
random.
just met you, and I love you.
that kind of stuff. And she would probably more so than a dog, um, be violent and want to attack things and be part of a pack and chase after things and kill them.
You're same spirits.
Yes, your true spirit animal.
No, I'm pretty sure that's a fisher cat I made friends with at the wildlife preserve.
So you guys can leave
No, just messing.
the billowing bazaar, and Allie has made mention again to head to the docks, and you can talk to Captain Trost. Sheila Trost.
I will say, I hope you all paid that woman well. I have no idea if you actually did or not, but that felt suspiciously like scamming someone out of their life savings.
Well, I paid her just about all the money I have. I just got 3 gold left, so
I wanted to save a bit of money for the ride, but again, she asked for 30. I gave her or 35. I gave her 30 and 2 magical roses, so I don't see a scam.
I also
Well,
genuinely have no idea what any of that would cost, so I also genuinely hope that she's okay.
And Allie gave all the money that she stole from that guy too. So in addition to paying it, she just threw that pouch for her starfish as well.
Oh, well, seeing that, I would have totally just given her a fist bump.
I mean, I don't know how necessarily kind that is. I mean, it's like, ill-gotten gains that she just gives away, so it's not like it's that painful, but there's probably a good 50, 75 gold in there.
You
Hey,
know what? The guy was a dick.
I'm giving them the opportunity of leasing out some property.
So as we're walking towards the dock, I'm gonna ask Allie. I'm gonna say, so you said this captain was attacked by pirates, yes?
That's what she said. Yep.
Right. I wonder if that means she wants us to protect her boat, or if she's perhaps looking to get some sort of revenge.
Hey, hopefully both.
Or one leads to the other.
I can't say I've dealt with pirates, but I've dealt with many people that behave like pirates, just don't happen to be on the ocean. So it's not a group that I would want to encounter if we don't have to.
I'm just glad none of you ever got to meet the pirates of Antarctica.
Don't know what that is.
I'll explain later.
Sounds like a good tale for while we are stuck at sea on a voyage.
So real quick, I'm gonna move us back to the main map because I did do what I think is, I mean, close, I guess, to like actual reasonable like distance. Because to my mind, Mercer has made his world way, way, way too small. As far as the times, because it's never been official, but the times that he's given the distance between places always feels way, way way too small. Like these places are the size of a single state in the United States. In some cases smaller. So like as an example, so I've got Pyra to Vasselheim being about 180 miles. In campaign 1, he said you could walk from Vasselheim to Pyra in 2 days. And if that's
Yeah.
true, that's really, this place is tiny. Like this continent is tiny because that's like 50 miles.
Welcome
2
to
days is like,
Europe.
yeah, so it's about 50 miles would be 2 days from there to there. And it makes this place absolutely tiny. So
Europe is not that small.
Oh, Europe is tiny compared to America.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Listen,
I mean,
you
you gotta
got
think of it
like
this way:
6 Europes here.
Europe is a mass amount of countries that roughly are a little bit smaller than the size of America.
well, I mean, yeah, like France and like is smaller than Texas. So it's like
Yeah. And that's like your biggest country.
No.
Yeah.
Russia's technically part of Europe.
For the
That's
sake of
a big
logistics,
argument.
no, it's not.
regardless,
it's mostly in Asia, therefore it counts as Asia.
Eurasia. It
It's
doesn't
called
matter.
Eurasia, and that's a
Regardless,
prehistoric continent.
it is Matt Mercer made his world way too small. So I did what I feel is somewhat reasonable. So like, because I basically said that going to Madrix's farm, which is now Arvid's farm, was about 2 days from Stormhaven, and that's what I did. So about 50 miles. So this is for him. This would be Vasselheim to Pyra, and that seems dumb. So I fudged it. But so you guys are in Mageshear. You would be traveling down the coast and then around into Black Hollow Bay and into Zenambra. So as a straight shot, it's like 275 miles, which would be a little bit longer, obviously.
Like along the coast, it's nearly 500.
Yeah. So a while to get there. But it is in Black Hollow Bay that where things will become slightly more dangerous because of pirates. And generally, you probably would go a little bit around and sort of avoiding Abraxas for the most part. You really
That's the
wouldn't go.
military place, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we do have letters of introduction in Abraxas.
You do.
Griswold will once again look to Ragnar and say, "Right, well, you're the one talking, yes?"
Oh, yes. Let me go see if I can get his passage.
So, before we start that conversation, let's go ahead and take a quick break because I am like so thirsty right now. My throat is so dry. So, we'll take like
Bio break
2 or
it
3
is.
minutes. Yes, that too. So we'll be right back.
Yes, can't wait to tell the story of the pirates of Antica.
I have no idea what that is.
It's going to be a joke on how many penguins are in Antarctica compared to Ireland. Would you like to know that figure?
Sure. Well, actually, you're going to tell us anyway.
There are about 6.6 people, well, 6.6 million people living in Ireland. There's 3 times that amount in Antarctica of penguins. So I was gonna make up some bullshit story of how in the Feywild there's penguin pirates who are constantly raiding like from the snow.
That's amazing. Also, everyone in Ireland deserves 3 penguin friends each.
It means I have to fight off 3 penguins if we go to war with Antarctica. But yeah, I definitely wasn't coming up with anything serious. It's just gonna be me making up some bullshit.
I'm excited.
What are you excited about?
The bullshit story I was gonna make up for like the pirates of Antarctica.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Don't worry, I'm just a fucking idiot.
Well, you gave it a pretty convincing name because I know nothing about. I don't know as much about D&D stuff, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a plausible pirate group in the D&D world.
Yeah, I just thought I'd just shrink down Antarctica and think, how could I make that fit?
So yeah, I don't know if you guys look. I just posted a picture of the thing, but they're doing a Exandria Unlimited, and they're like they did with the stuff the characters that Robbie and played, and character that
They've released
Liam's
a
currently playing.
trailer for it, haven't they?
I think they did. I just saw. I didn't actually pay attention other than I just saw the announcement. Didn't actually go and look at it. But it's like all old new people. Like I didn't recognize any of the names. I might recognize their faces if I saw them, but all the names of the people that are playing in the game, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Well, I think one of them sounded like that. What's Brendan Lee Mulligan?
Really?
Yeah, because you think he talks after Abria?
Yeah, I didn't look too far into it. I just saw that it was like, oh, they're doing the Calamity, so that'll be interesting. I haven't watched the other Exandria Unlimited. I didn't really care, but I might watch that one. I'm somewhat curious.
I mean, I'm currently struggling with the main campaign, like ×2 in it, and having to like watch it in 3 segments.
Yeah, I've been keeping up. The last Thursday though, the session was like 4.5 hours, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to stay up and watch that because like what I normally do is I will watch until to the first break or the only break, I guess. I watch to the break and then I go to bed, and then I usually watch the second half like on Mondays when it's released on YouTube. But this week I didn't have time to sit down and watch the extra 2.5, 3 hours after the break. So I was like, I don't really know what happened exactly, but
Yeah, I only watch it on YouTube because I'm not really going to subscribe to something that I'm 100% not going to be conscious for once a week.
right.
That totally is Brennan Lee Mulligan. You were right, Rob.
Like I said, I didn't know if he was on it, but it definitely sounded like him.
It is him, and I can only confirm this for sure because I just watched the trailer on YouTube with subtitles, and it had the names of the people who were talking.
They put
right.
a tweet out too that had all the names.
You and I use the YouTube subtitles for very different things.
They were just on by default for this. It wasn't like a conscious effort to turn them on.
So it's 2 weeks from now that it's four episode.
Yeah, I really like that. The stuff I've seen from Brendan, so I'd like to see what he has to bring into Exandria Unlimited.
Agreed.
Yeah, I will. I'll have to watch that. I don't know anything about this person that you're discussing.
He started off as like a sketch comedy guy on College Humor, and then started a D&D like show through that, where he DMs and has become massively popular. Like, I would say probably like second or third most popular live play D&D show online, behind Critical Role and maybe the what's the other group? Like the guys who are like two brothers and their dad who play.
Adventure Zone?
That might be them. Yeah, like Adventure Zone and Critical Role, and then probably after that it's the College Humor group that does it, but I can never think of their actual like.
It's like Dimension 20 or some shit.
Yeah, that's the one. But
So
he was a wicked funny like sketch comedian before that. That's how I knew of him. And then all of a sudden he started popping up in all my D&D stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we accept this."
So it would be interesting. So like, I mean, I just watched it too. It's like with the subtitles there, and I'm guessing from the looks of that, it might be the very tail end of the Age of Arcanum, and then Vespin Chloris. Vespin Chloris is the archmage who released the Betrayer gods. So that looked like his image at the end, the official art of Vespin Chloris. So he might end up being sort of the antagonist of that, which would be pretty darn cool. We'll see. I also think it's interesting that Matt has left the history of Exandria to other people. Like, he did the general outline, and then he's just like letting everybody else fill in the gaps.
More fun that way. Also with less stress.
Well, and it's cool because then he, as we've seen with these 3 campaigns, like, he just keeps moving the story forward, and so like he never has to contradict himself, like as far as like when you go back and do like a prequel, so to speak, and then like, oh well, I know that this thing is going to happen in the future, so I can't do that, or they can't. It's like, oh well, he's only beholden, I suppose, to things that he's already set up in the previous campaigns, which I'm sure for him is a lot easier. So anyway, you do make your way down to the docks. The docks are certainly not as large or as nice as the docks that some of you would have been familiar with in Stormhaven. The boats themselves also not quite as nice as the ones that you would see in Stormhaven. You get the idea that, smuggling and that type of thing probably has a pretty decent foothold within Mageshear. So you make your way to a ship called the Winter Gull.
Matt, real quick, not to interrupt you, but just as we're on our way, can I keep an eye out for any sort of Thieves' Cant, Thieves' Guild related signs or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do a perception check.
Okay. Where? Oh, here it is. Perception. This is not one of my strong suits.
You don't see anything that is what you would consider recent or active. I would say that you might catch a glimpse here and there of what looks like a bit of Thieves' Cant that has been painted over, and then like since then the paint has chipped off, and you can kind of see little bits. But this stuff looks really, really old. But yeah, I'll just do. I don't know if any of you actually take notes. I usually am bad at it as a player, but this is the captain of the Winter Gull. And upon seeing Allie, she sort of invites you all in, kind of a little bit of a hush, I guess. She invites you on board the ship and into the captain's quarters. So I don't have enough seats for everyone, but just I don't know. Does anybody want a drink?
Sure.
I'll have a wine if you've got any.
She gives you a quick wink and pulls out the. Well, she opens up this like chest, and you can hear all these bottles clinking, and you can see a number of bottles of rum and whiskey, and then a few bottles of wine as well. And she grabs a. And she says, "Well, I hope red is all right. That's all I've got."
Oh, that's fine. And if you want to smoke, I've got some available.
Oh, trade then. And she pours you a glass, and surprisingly, she even has like very nice sort of crystal wine glasses. Um, the Winter Gull is not exactly a luxury ship, to be sure, and her cabin is not luxurious either. But she does appear to have a few things that she's probably legally picked up along her travels.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll hand her a little bit of or enough for a couple of uses for a smoke pipe.
okay, and she will take that and start smoking, and she'll open up the windows in the back of the ship, which is where her quarters are. And as all of you that have agreed to a drink, she offers you a drink. Um, says, "Well, Ali has made mention that you have desire to go to the Zenambra.
Yes, that is correct.
It's not my business to ask why you would want to go to such a place, but I could probably take you there if we come to an agreement about certain things."
Of course, we appreciate it. It's just a port that we're landing on, continuing on our journey.
Well, again, going to a place of pirates and slavers is not exactly a vacation spot, but not my place to pry. But a few weeks ago, we were attacked by a ship called the Executor, and under Captain Osram.
Do either of those ring a bell?
Um, I would say those of you from Stormhaven can do a history check.
Well, not me.
Ooh. A second, my character sheet's doing something funky. There.
Bam. Yes, you two have heard of the Executor, and you have heard of Captain Osram. Um, he is a somewhat notorious pirate. Um, generally known to just attack, merchant ships and the general sort of piratey things. Um, but Captain Trost continues that, well, for those obviously you've heard of Captain Osram, and you would know that he is known for pirating, stealing cargo and the like. But recently he's been capturing crews. In fact, he took most of my crew before we were able to fend them off, including my first mate, who also happens to be my husband, Benjamin. And a lot of the people that did not get taken are injured, so I would need assistance. I don't. And she sort of looks at all of you. It's like, doesn't appear any of you have any sort of experience on ships, but we can show you the ropes a little bit. But
Teach me how to board, and I'll show you how to kill.
um, right. Um, and for taking you to Zenambra, or the general area anyway, could do so free of charge. However, there is a small cove where the Executor makes port. It's a little bit outside of Zenambra to the east. Um, and well, I suppose I would just ask that you investigate that port, and to your point, Signe, I believe, kill all of them, and return my crew and husband, and I will uh, again not charge you passage for your ship, and I will offer you a bit of reward, and also, of course, you are free to keep whatever you may find amongst Osram's men.
I believe we can do that.
Ma'am, the god of war is shining upon me today because you have been sent to clear my woes.
Oh, great, I suppose. Uh,
If I might ask, should the decision come between vengeance on these foes of yours and recovering those who were taken, I assume you would prefer the latter to the former.
well, everyone who joins my crew understands that death is always right around the corner, and I would say that stopping these men from continuing whatever it is that they're doing is more important than saving the lives of those that have agreed to forfeit them. You see, it's something is happening. Osram is not a slaver, but somehow he's taking people. But why?
It's
You
a good
had my
question.
interest peaked at slaver, so I would be more than willing either way, whether it is a rescue or mission or killing them.
Well, we can do a little bit of both, but for sure the killing is important.
Agreed?
Also, if we tend to get, well, if the boat gets in a bit of a riff, I had some carpentry skills, so I can help you out with that.
Well, that should prove helpful.
As do I, though I'm not sure how much use they will be on a boat.
And you can see that Allie is like playing with her starfish, just sort of like running her finger around the edges of it.
And I believe we agree to the terms. We appreciate you taking us somewhere that may not be safe for you as well.
Well, we will take the safest route possible and stay a little bit away from the coast once we reach Black Hollow Bay, just to avoid any entanglements.
Dad's gonna be pissed I'm taking you to a den of scum and villainy. And she claps Ragnar on the back.
She kind of winces as she stumbles a little bit and smiles back at Signe and says, "Well, it might be exciting to see such a place."
When do you plan on setting sail?
Well, do you need time to do anything? If not, we can leave the day after tomorrow.
That works for us.
By the way, do I need to make accommodations for my pet, or is she allowed to come on board?
So long as it doesn't kill anyone, I suppose it's fine.
No, my Astra's a sweetie. She only kills when ordered to.
That's fine then, I suppose.
Right. Well, can you recommend anywhere to stay for the time being? We're all rather new to Mageshear.
And Allie's like, oh, yeah, we can go back to the Red Hat. They have a few rooms. We might have to share some, but that's fine, right? It's cheap.
Yes. Yes, perfectly fine. Thank you
Good
for
to me.
finding it, Allie.
Because I can play and get us. I can get us. We can stay for free if they like me.
Okay. Well then, Captain, if there's any change, if there needs to be something done earlier, just come find us at the Red Hat.
All right. Well, again, day after tomorrow, come here We'll say at dawn. Just come when the sun is up. We'll leave.
Sounds
See you
good,
then.
ma'am.
All right. So you have like a day and a half until you have to leave. If there's anything else you would like to do.
Allie, my life has never been so organized, and I'm finding I quite like it.
That's good, I guess.
Don't let me become over dependent on you.
Well, I suppose as long as Arvid keeps paying me, I'll stick around.
Well, I
Ellie,
don't have any reason not to pay you.
Ellie, did you figure out anything about the dagger?
Oh yeah. And then she'll describe what it is. It's called
Okay.
Shadow Song. It's pretty cool.
Alright.
Almost as soon as we are out of that meeting, Callum would just have a very serious look at everyone there. Just, I don't particularly care for this arrangement.
You have a problem with killing slavers?
Yes,
I don't.
I know.
I also
just-
do not.
I simply wish to make my stance known before, so none of you came as a surprise.
Callum, you've made it clear that you don't like killing anything.
As long as that's known, as I said, I would hate for us to be in a perilous situation, only to find any of you surprised by my decisions within it.
Yeah, don't worry, Peaches. We're good.
More for me.
Not if I get them first. With a big grin.
He'll kind of just give a nod and, then, does anyone need anything before we go to the inn? Or does everyone have supplies, rations, everything like that?
Yes, I do. And I
Well,
believe
how
I
long
am ready to bed.
Callum checks his sack. I believe I have everything I need. How long are we to be at sea? Did she say? Sorry, I may have dozed off.
I don't believe she said, but just guessing on the distance, I would assume no less than at least a week to a week and a half.
Then
Based on it depends on the size of the boat, and it's probably not a huge ship. Like it's not the size of like a galley or something like that. So let's see. The movement is
Rob, you said it was what, like just over like 500 and something miles?
Give or take, like if you went directly along the coast, you're talking about 500.
Okay.
and it can her ship can probably go between 90 and 100 miles a day. So you're looking at probably about 5 days. Give or take.
then
Oh yeah, I
yes,
got plenty
supplies
then.
should be sufficient.
All right. Well, there is one other thing I would like to put up to the table real quick, and he's going to take off the helmet from on the top of his head and just, if I'm going to be using this dagger, I will not be able to use this at the moment. Would like to offer to whoever would like it.
And what was the helmet again?
It
Let
lets
you
you
read
mind
into
read.
people's minds.
I could see
I think
that
it's in
having
everyone's loot
some...
list.
Yeah, it is. It's a helm of telepathy.
Yeah, I was just asking in character.
Oh, okay.
I could
Okay.
see that having some usefulness, though. Certainly.
I'm going. Oh, go ahead.
No, by all means.
Well, the dagger will be my third item that I'm attuned to, but I would like to just have a bit of a opening just in case it ever came to it where something more useful would be become available. So I'd rather not keep everything on just myself.
You expressed as much in the Feywild as well. Is there a particular reason?
Well, from mostly experience, if you're with a group, it's better to keep things spread out. If someone happens to perish, get lost, and they happen to be the one with everything on them, it leaves the group in a bit of a worse off spot.
I
Well,
suppose
I mean,
that
I
is
could
fair.
technically wear one more thing. I mean, I just got this cool cloak, so that's gonna take up some
Signe,
focus.
no offense to you at all. Actually, this will probably be somewhat of a compliment to you. If you were to read someone's mind and you did not like what they were saying, you would want to kill them. So I do not think this would be best for you.
No, you're absolutely right. Oh man, I hate what people say. I hate to think what they think. Oh god.
Yes, that is one of my worries with you being able to read thoughts.
By that logic, it
Oh.
seems as if perhaps I should hang on to it.
Yeah, go right ahead, Callum. It's about time you wore something other than shredded clothes.
And
Yes,
I will
I
hand
think
it to
so.
Callum.
Callum will take it, put it on for now.
And
You poor fools.
Well, considering our fashion show's over now, Ragnar and Griswold, considering we're going to be travelling for the next 6-ish days, would you like any assistance learning things? Because I know I'm teaching Ragnar Sylvan, but I can't teach you arcane magic, but I can teach you about magic in general.
well, according to the tag on this, I should be taught by the book itself. So I don't think that will be a problem. I think perhaps focusing on Ragna would serve as a better use. And if I come up to a thing that is truly bringing my learning to a halt, I'll let you know. But I'm just starting, anyways.
If you also have some trouble, I can try to assist. Sibilna has been teaching me some things about the arcane.
If a problem arises, I will come to one of you. But until then, uh, yeah. Can I open the book? Does anything happen?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I'm kind of thinking of it is that the book would kind of talk like Gilderoy Lockhart and Harry Potter.
Okay.
Like the very dramatic and like talking about how great he is, and that's why people don't want to buy this. That's why this book is because it was terrible and it annoys everybody. But I would say that within the book, like unless you're sort of like because it's a spell book, it's a magic, right? So unless you're sort of like really focusing on it and really like sitting in front of the book, essentially, um, you can't hear it. So it's not
Okay.
like everybody else has to listen to it as well.
Okay. So yeah, I'll kind of like. Oh,
All of those with high perception have to anyway.
Yeah.
oh, I think this is going to be something that requires me to actually sit and focus on. So if it is giving me trouble, I'll let you all know.
Okay. And
That
thank
sounds
you again, Arvid, for teaching me Sylvan, or continuing to teach me.
No problem. As of the moment, I'm not really tending to the business, so I've got a lot of free time.
If anyone ever wants, I'm more than happy to show them how to use an axe.
I'd say I'd teach you how to call lightning from the sky, but I don't think you could do it.
I don't think those little stick arms of yours could hold an axe.
That sounds suspiciously like a challenge, Arvid.
To see if I could hold an axe?
No, to see if Signe can call lightning from the sky.
By all means, Signy, can you try and call some lightning from the sky, please?
You first.
Okay, could you hand me your axe?
Sure. I'll give him my other great axe.
Yes, and with my 11 strength, I will pick up the great axe.
Now use it.
On what exactly?
Pick something.
Swinging a huge axe around in the middle of the city is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, it's not exactly what we need right before we're about to go.
What do you mean? It always clears out the street.
Yeah, that's the problem.
No, it makes traveling so much easier.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to swing an axe in the middle of this city.
Drama queen. Takes back the axe.
Like, I can clearly lift it above my head, move it around, it's not an issue.
So you guys can make your way over to the Red Hat.
Yep.
I love that segue. It sounded like, moving on, you idiots.
Yeah, you know. Can I also just state for the record that once again, I'm constantly disappointed in Roll20 and the fact that you know, spells that are in the player's handbook are not in Roll20. Like,
Yep.
how? Like, I can understand not like adding stuff like, you know.
So
from
what it
Xanathar's or whatever.
is there's a bunch of spells from the player's handbook, but not all of them, that Wizard released as part of the core rules, which are free. And so those are the only ones in Roll20, because those are the ones that that Roll20 can put in there without being like sued for copyright.
That's so stupid. Like, you know, Ali is supposed to be able to cast the Friends cantrip, but that's not in Roll20, which means I'd have to add it separately, and that's
Well,
annoying.
man, I was sending you tons of DM rolls because I had to add in, like, by myself, like 7 or 8 of the spells from the spell book. So there's a lot that's not in there.
I know, it's so frustrating. I just don't get it. I mean, thankfully it's not too bad adding spells, but and I wish
Doing it in large numbers is a pain in the butt.
Well, yeah, absolutely. If you're a wizard and none of your stuff is in there, that is irritating. And I also wish there was a better way to I wish you could create an actual weapon. Like, the best you can do is create like a token or a handout that has the description of the weapon. Like, why can't I actually just make the weapon and then be able to drag it as a, you know?
If you wanted to do that, you would have had to drag a +1 dagger to me, rename it, put all the right information in, change all the damages and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the pain in the butt, because it's like I can't do that beforehand. Like, if I want to create that and then give it to you, like, I can't. I'd have to like create it and then like, I guess I could create it and like drag it to my own, you know, like just a random thing, and then later on drag it back and then drag it to yours as well, so that I could create it in some generic character sheet. And then I don't know. It just like it seems so silly that you can't just create a weapon. You can create a character or a handout or a folder, and that's it. Roll20. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get free room and board per your hired bard.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Griswold over the next couple days, like until we leave, is just going to be looking at the book and reading and stuff like that.
Callum would, at the very least, use that sending stone he has to share information about the letter that was found, which could take a couple of days because you can only cast sending once per day.
Ragna would have a chat with Sbilna about the souls stuff. And then on a free day, she would learn some Sylvan, and if Arvid wanted to teach her at that time. And then also just walk around Mageshear for fun and be a tourist.
Oh, yeah. In his actual free time, he would probably go back to the Conclave of the Wild Mother and continue to lend a hand while we wait for ship passage.
So, as far as souls, I mean, Zabilna would have some knowledge she would be willing to share, and that souls within the hells are all sort of used differently depending on the type of devil that happens to be acquiring said soul. So obviously there would be the devils who just sign pacts with souls, and then once that person has died, then the soul becomes their own, and then you can do it like similarly in the way that like they would have people enthralled as slaves. You essentially could have a soul sort of like in your possession to not as Griswold said, it wouldn't be eaten necessarily or consumed to give them power, but just the accumulation of souls would be what would give them power. But then you have others that would essentially devour the souls, and Zabilna would be able to tell you that essentially, if that happens, the soul would be, for all intents and purposes, destroyed. Like that entity, whatever that was, just has been obliterated from existence at that point. There's no bringing them back. They're just gone. So that's happy.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as speaking with Rhea, Yara, whatever she
Rhea,
wants to go
thank
by,
you.
she would obviously be quite concerned, though she would advise to not get distracted by Orcus and continue focusing on Nerul. That
Agreed.
eventually, that from the sounds of the letter, it sounds like they may be entering some sort of pact, and that the necromancer made mention that he felt like Orcus was just trying to use that relationship, but if Nerul is trying to acquire alliances with beings, that should be the most concerning thing, and especially considering that we already have a potential of Yaga the Unclean, Baba Yaga, Zabilna's mother being dead and controlled by Nerul. That in and of itself is terrifying, and if he's not stopping there, that should be.
Yep.
Let's focus on that. And more than anything, just like, okay, so why? What's he doing? What's the plan? Because Nerul in the past has been
Relatively passive.
right, and somewhat reclusive in a way. Like he's not making any power moves against anybody. So yeah. And as far as like what she's doing, she would let you know that she has some promising leads as far as the spells and everything that she's looking for, and that she is currently not necessarily recruiting, but in addition to Cademan, she's acquiring talented folks to assist her in her pursuits.
Interesting.
Basically trying to fill the gaps in her own knowledge. So like again with the Hallow spell, that like she's an arcane user, and so finding people that have sort of holy magic and things like that, and they can teach her how to do things like that, or if she can just use their skills to her advantage. So again, you get the idea that she's yeah, I don't want to say manipulative, but kind of manipulative.
Yeah. That does not bother Callum.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you get from her.
I'd probably be happy to teach Ragnar Sylvan and walk around Mageshear because it's still a relatively new city on a not my native plane, and see if Ali wanted to come as I'm teaching and walking around and teaching.
She's not particularly interested in Sylvan, but she would happily follow along. She speaks Common and Celestial.
That's a hell of a match.
So yeah, Ragna speaks Celestial, right? So
Yep.
then Allie would just probably do that occasionally, just talk to you in Celestial, because it's like nobody can understand what you're saying. It's like your own secret handshake kind of thing.
Yeah, Ragna would smile and be happy to chat, and Celestial as well.
We probably don't get very many opportunities to do that either. So,
Yep.
and Allie will also attempt to pickpocket people as you go about your day.
I've got nothing against that.
I'd say with Ragna's low passive, she would just not notice.
I would probably notice every time.
Yeah, you would probably notice every time. Yeah.
One doesn't know, the other doesn't care.
Yes.
It's not my plane.
So yeah, she's a bit of a thief, but a petty thief, you know. So, with all of that, we can jump ahead to the morning of your departure.
Just for fun, Matt. One of the nights, can I try to cast one of the cantrips?
Yep.
I want to try. If you guys hear a huge explosion, you know what happened. Let's see. I would try to cast.
Supposed to be firebolt, not fireball.
I would try to cast. What's whoever's in the room with me, whichever person is staying in the room with me, I would try to cast message to them and just.
I think it's probably the way that we because the Red Hat is not a big place, so it's probably split. The men in one room and the women in another.
Then yeah, to who would seem less distracted between Arvid and Callum?
Define distracted. That seems like a hard question.
If we were all in the room at night, who would be more likely to just look like they're not doing anything?
Callum probably is literally just like dozing somewhere.
Yeah.
In big air quotes, meditating.
And I'd be drinking wine and basically smoking.
And
Okay,
Johan
then I
would
would be
probably
be to Arvid.
in the bar doing his
Okay.
weird robot thing.
Yeah.
He's probably not in there because he doesn't need to
Okay.
sleep.
All right, then yeah, it would be to Arvid. I would just try to cast a message and just say, "Is this working?"
Is this working?
Well,
Testing. Is this thing on?
The best way, so I think that in the rules, like if you're trying to cast something that is above your ability to cast, it is a DC 10 plus the level of the spell. That's like when you do how you do spell scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
So like the cantrip is not a level, but you're not proficient at all because you're not even a wizard yet.
Exactly.
So I
would say make it as hard as you want because it, like you said, I'm not a wizard.
Well,
he can't cast spells right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is your intelligence modifier?
It's 3. It's a 16.
All right, so
I would argue DC 10 with no added bonuses because normally you add your casting stat, and he doesn't have a casting stat yet.
Right, but I mean, my thing is that like, if you make it a low DC, it makes no sense because he can't really cast anything.
True.
So like, my thought is this, right? So you have 16 intelligence, and your modifier is a +3. So let's just do that. Make it a DC 19.
All right. Just straight intelligence, yeah?
Yep. Holy crap.
Good shit.
Nice.
So it works.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping to test how bad it could go if it went wrong, but I didn't get to figure it out. So, oh well.
So, what are you sending me?
So you have to
Literally, it's
start.
just like it's probably a little bit of cursing at first, and then just did it work?
You'll hear back in your mind. Yes, probably shouldn't curse at people in their minds. It's not very polite.
And he will just kind of like have a huge grin on his face, nod at you, and just keep reading.
Good start to your wizarding career.
1 for 1.
Does that mean that he actually knows it now, and you won't have to repeat the save, or are you going to make him repeat the save every time he
Oh,
tries to
repeat
cast
every
it?
Every single time until he takes a level in wizard for sure.
Yep.
That could be a fluke
Sounds
right
like
there.
a plan.
Out loud, all you hear is, "You're a wizard, Harry!"
So yeah, like Mike, I don't know if you like looked at that. So there's like a wild, almost like a wild surge.
Yeah.
So we'll use that if you fail.
Okay. That works for me. Probably won't do it on the boat just so it doesn't blow up.
All right. So yeah, you guys will board the White Gull. And you none of you are sailors, but I think you all just lay people would notice that it doesn't look like there, even if you guys were helping, it doesn't really look like there are quite enough people to be running this ship efficiently. So you imagine that Captain Trost probably lost quite a few of her folks.
And certainly Callum will be doing what he can to help. He's not skilled labor, but he's reasonably strong and quick.
Yeah, like swabbing the deck and those types of things.
Yeah.
That doesn't take much effort. But I mean, like, and also just a matter of like, hey, assist in grabbing this rope.
Yeah.
Obviously, Signe would be good at that. So
Yeah, and Arvid would put himself forward to look after, like, food and water supplies.
because you can make water, right?
I can make water and I can create good. I can literally do both.
So there you go. So, with the skills of Captain Trost, you are able to make your way down, and you're going to be ending up sort of in a cove to the east of Zenambra.
As we're going, Matt, can I ask like where she was attacked and stuff like that in like regards to the pirates?
Yeah, it would have been in Black Hollow Bay, so in this just general area.
Okay.
And that is sort of Osram's general hangout. Abraxas needs a fair amount of supplies, considering their locale, surrounded by mountains and then the ocean.
Okay.
So they do import some things, but they don't rely on it entirely. And you tend to stay away from it because it seems that Abraxas is, and maybe Captain Trost will be able to mention this to you, that Abraxas seems to be increasing their navy, for lack of a better term. There are many more ships patrolling their sort of area of influence out in the water. So the way this would end up working is obviously she would take you to this cove, and she would give you some details. She would take you around the back essentially. So like the executor would sort of be parked, for lack of a better term, on the backside of this sort of inlet outlet, and I know what you would call that exactly. So she's going to sort of take you around the back so that you can sneak around, so you wouldn't be approaching the cave, the hideout, by water. You would be going by land essentially. And she would describe that it's as far as she knows, it's not particularly, it's not exactly their. It's kind of like a stop essentially, where they it's not their full on headquarters where they take all of their loot. It's just one of their sort of like hideouts, I guess.
Like an outpost.
Yeah, and moored, yes, is where. And the Executor is also not an entirely. It's not a huge ship. It's like it's like a 4 cannon, so like 2 cannons on each side. So it's not like it's a huge ship or anything. It's known for being very fast, and that's how he does his pirating. Um, so there will be no issues at sea on your way to this cove.
Any particularly lunar nights?
Probably
I would
there
like
are
to
two
use my
moons,
paw.
as far as I know.
I'd like to use my mutilated hand.
Petrified hand, yeah.
Yeah. Gotta get some of that good.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're talking to uh, Aster, I mean, Aster would probably be very preoccupied with not wanting to be on a ship. That would be probably what you would hear most in those conversations, is that she is not happy at all to be on this boat.
Yeah, I want to ask her things like what she remembers from being a puppy, how she's liked the adventuring life. Does she like it with us? Does she
Probably
want to
wouldn't
be
be
more
able to.
involved?
Probably wouldn't know or wouldn't be able to tell you much about being a puppy. She would be happy. She would be happy with everybody, but again, very preoccupied and about not wanting to be where she is currently. Um, doesn't like the water and does want to kill things. It's been a while.
That's true. But does she want to kill things more than deer?
I mean, kill whatever you want her to kill.
Okay, I'm trying to convey to her there's a good bit of danger. I want her to know before getting into it.
So that's the question. Once you reach this area, do you want to take Allie? Do you want to take Aster? The double A's?
I would vote against Allie.
Yes.
I would also put something to the group as we're getting close by. We could actually approach by water unseen.
Seems unlikely that a group of mariners would not monitor the waterways coming up to their abode.
Well, I can make it that we can breathe underwater for 24 hours.
That seems
I'm
sketchy.
voting.
How many people? Does that include dogs?
Well, I could probably do about 10-ish. Can't guarantee dogs, but well, the most of us, yeah.
I just Ragna still uses the same armor, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Riz wasn't. I mean, Ragna would be walking along the bottom of the water, not really able to swim.
Well, pretty sure they wouldn't be able to see her at the bottom.
Yes,
That's true.
but
But you also
also
remember, it's like breathing underwater doesn't mean like how are you going to get her up, because she's not going to swim up with full plate armor.
that's kind of his point. Is if we're he just if we're planning on considering going by water, she will have to not wear armor, and if getting out of the water were spotted, she would be at an extreme disadvantage compared to what she's used to.
Well, Either that, or just be willing to walk along the bottom and climb out wherever we decide to come out.
Well, it's an option.
Can I go up to the captain and ask, what is the cove that they're? What does it look like? Is it off the water? Is it water going into it?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a C-shaped, sort of like inlet. So like it's like a safe harbor for them to like essentially moor their ship and hide it. Um, but it's essentially like a narrow strait to get into this little like little small little bay. Um, which is why she was just going to go around it so that you couldn't, because I mean, because she can't get her ship in there without it being noticed immediately. So she was going to go around essentially the back. It's not separate. It's not an island, but essentially going around and then letting you guys off so that you can approach from
Like out
the
of
back.
sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long does the water breathing last for?
Lasts for an entire day.
And how difficult is it for you to perform this feat?
It takes about 10 minutes of concentration.
I think it might be fun.
Would it impede your abilities to use magic further throughout the day? I know that, from what I understand, at least many mages are taxed by the casting of spells.
No. Like I said, all I need to is spend the time making sure it's active, and after that, it's just go ahead. Hell, if you wanted, I could actually make it so we could walk on water.
That might make us more visible.
Yeah,
I
so
certainly think that, at the very least, even if we don't choose to approach by those means, given that we're moving into an area surrounded by water, having it as an escape option set up ahead of time, as long as it comes at no cost to you, would be smart.
well, if you want, I could do it now, and you could test it by like dunking your head in a barrel of water.
Me first.
I'll spend 10 minutes and I'll ritually cast.
Love the
Griswold
water
kinda-
breathing ritual.
Griswold will kind of look over and everyone just. My thought process was, well, the captain said that this ship, the Executor, is known for its speed. So, our job, and he kind of looks over at Calvin and says, no matter how much some of us might not like it, is to take out these pirates. My thought was, if we do enter from a different way than just in the water, we could have the captain take her ship out and block them in so they'll have no escape.
That is true. Although you raise an interesting point, surely an option such as making off or scuttling their ship would achieve much the same end of removing them from the waters.
Cannonball! Sploosh.
Did she realize that he wasn't done casting yet?
No, I've cast it.
Hey guys, it works.
See, it does seem fun.
It's fun as long as there's a way for you to climb up when we get inside.
I'm strong. I think I can climb it.
Yeah, I'm gonna climb back up the rope I specifically tied to the rail.
Well, I mean, you could always doff your armour and don it when you get closer.
You see a look in her eye that's similar to Signe's when she's presented with a challenge.
I mean, that's not really all that. I mean, it might be a little bit helpful. She still has to carry it. Like,
Oh, we got.
whether you're wearing it or carrying it, it's the same weight.
Oh yeah, but she could hand out different pieces to different people. It lessens the load. And when we
Well,
get,
We
I will
also have
say,
a
I will
robot.
ask, do you are you sharing your plans with the captain?
Probably we're not keeping it secret. We're just chatting about it.
yeah, I'm putting out the water breathing idea. It's just an idea in general. It's like planning phase.
And yeah, I'd say the
If the
the
captain
captain would
overhears,
probably hear us. I
well,
would say because I did ask how it looks and goes in, so I would say I probably did call her over to ask.
so she would suggest following the plan that she already created, obviously, and to avoid going through the water simply because then you'll end up on the beach, and she can't guarantee that there aren't people just going to be on the beach, and so you come out of the water and they're going to see you. The plan that she has was to sneak around the back so that you can get through and enter their headquarters first. And it's a cave system essentially. Um, I mean, you can do either way, but you would be coming up on the ship on the Executor if you go through the water.
Oh yeah, and like I
And the
said,
origin.
I'm not like pushing for the water idea. It's just I'm giving people the option of we can travel by water.
I suppose the original option seems to be the better one.
Yeah, no, the fact that this thing lasts for a day is terrific. It means we have a get out of town.
My thought exactly.
But you would have disadvantage on stealth in the water. Coming up from the water, because I mean that like you're not Navy SEALs.
Have
So
you seen me, DM? I have disadvantage just because I'm burly.
Signe is a shit brick house, and that gives her a disadvantage on stealth.
I'm so buff you
So-
can hear my ass cheeks a clapping when I'm running.
so are you going to take Aster with you?
Yeah, come on, girl.
Griswold's gonna kind of look at Signa. Just I understand she likes to fight and such, but these are not your average creatures that we're gonna be fighting. They're intelligent people. Uh, realize what can happen to Aster.
I know. We talked it over.
Fair enough.
All right. So, if you'd like to take Aster, you all can. Then it'll take you probably from where you're going to be dropped off. If you're going to go stealthily towards to the caves, it'd probably take you about an hour or so, maybe a little less. So I assume that in most instances, Callum and Griswold would probably be in the lead, considering their perception and stealthy abilities. Arvid, with his
Griswold would
perception as well.
suggest, yeah, Griswold would suggest that the people who have a harder time, like Johan and Ragna, stay maybe like 50, 60 feet back enough that they could see us, so like we could like wave for them when to come in and stuff.
Yep, Ragna would be fine with that.
All right, so give me a second here.
I mean, I'm not exactly loud with a +6 and advantage on stealth.
Well, no, I figured you to be up more with us.
Oh yeah, but I'd say I'd be within 30 feet of Ragnar because I can guide,
Oh, okay, okay.
and I believe guidance would be more appropriate for Ragnar in this situation.
Mhm.
True.
Sounds good.
Hey, eventually, if this cantrip keeps evolving, I can do it to 2 people at a time.
That's nice.
Is it just? It's just a regular guidance cantrip, but with range. Yes.
Yeah, so it's from the evolving cantrips book. So it evolves to, first of all, range. Then it's 2 others. I can't remember which one's first, but one option is you get to reroll a 1 and take the result, that whatever comes next. And the other is to 2 people at a time.
Interesting. I only asked because that means it still has a verbal component that you have to say every minute to cast it, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. Not sure how helpful it is for stealth then.
I mean, I can just whisper it.
Gesundheit.
Hey, good luck.
All right, so everybody do your stealth rolls.
Plus a d4. 14.
Natural 26.
All right, and for Griswold and Callum, go ahead and do perception checks.
This is on you. I suck at this.
All right. So you guys
be
have made
worse.
your way pretty stealthily towards where you were instructed to go. And you see that you come across it is obviously it's a cave. And the opening of this cave is actually pretty wide, a little bit wider than you were probably even anticipating it to be. And there are even some torches sort of like at the entrance. And Callum in particular, you can see sort of around the corner at a distance because of the light, a few people sort of like one of the guys is like leaning up against the wall, and you hear some, I guess, drinking sounds. They're the guys that are sort of like talking loud and like maybe like singing some songs and just carousing essentially. And you notice that the area around you you have pretty thick cover where you are as far as like foliage and that type of thing. I would say off the top you could probably see at least 3 people.
Hear more if they're being loud.
Yeah, you can see probably 3, and you would assume that there may be more, but you feel like they're making enough noise and you all are not making very much noise, that they are probably unaware of your presence.
And what time of day would it be right now? Is it still perfectly laid out, or is it getting dark?
No, it is dark. So
Okay.
this would be under the cover of darkness.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and move you guys to the map. So you're going to be in the bottom left-hand corner. Signet probably won't be able to see, because you wouldn't want to have a torch, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Take advantage
Regno.
of my new cloak.
Regno would like put her hand on Signe to help her navigate. Whoops.
I mean, if we can spot these, and Callum can spot these, and we're a little ahead, he would just kind of reach over and tap Griswold on the shoulder.
You would look at you.
Just hold up 3 fingers. Just, maybe more. Seems like more. Probably drunk from the sounds of it. Perhaps we can even blend in and slip inside if they're this inebriated.
Matt, can I like peek around the corner, see what they look like? Like, what are they wearing? Does it look like there's a particular color, uniform, anything like that?
Um, despite what the tokens may show you, they do not appear to be dressed in any similar way.
Okay. All right. Griswold will kind of nod and he'll motion for everyone to like go around in the trees and or whatever bushes it is and make their way up to like to where we are all pretty much at now. And once we're all there, he's gonna kind of just whisper very lowly to everyone, just uh, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna try to sneak in and get everything started.
Signe, would you like to be able to see like the rest of us?
Oh my god, yes.
Right, put your head against mine and close your eyes.
After some blind face feeling, goes forehead to forehead the best she can and closes her eyes.
I put my thumbs over her closed eyes and
Thank you.
Griswold, I would feel more comfortable coming with you.
He kind of just looks and he goes, I appreciate it. This is kind of my thing.
I understand that. That's why I would feel more comfortable coming with you.
hey, Griswold, would you like to be invisible?
I think I can get in there rather easily. And he, if I do recall correctly, Matt, I did find a bottle of pretty good whiskey in the, like the tomb, right?
Maybe.
I think it was an empty bottle of whiskey, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It was a empty. It was from the thieves. They had drank it all.
Yeah. But he does still have the bottle. And he will just take out the other one that he had previously bought and pour a little bit into it and just start sloshing it around and he'll just look at 30 seconds then. And he's just gonna try to start walking in.
Magna would wait behind this tree thing.
Callum looks mildly exasperated, but he will wait.
So yeah, Matt, my whole thing is I'm gonna pull my hood down or whatever it looks like they're wearing. I'm gonna try to do the same, and I'm just gonna start like humming a tune and walking like I'm drunk. I don't
Alright,
know if
so
I need to do anything for it.
yeah, it'd be a couple things. Also, just to make sure, because again, roll 20 is being dumb for me, and it has been when I drew tokens. So, it on my screen, it looks like Callum and Signe don't have full hit points. So, if,
That's true because I never did my long rest.
okay, so yeah, for both of you, just bump if that is correct, make sure you bump yourself up to your full hit points.
Fixed it.
Also, Sam, can you see now?
I can, thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna have two things here. So number one, do another perception check, and number two, do a performance check.
All right. I'm gonna use my birthday blessing for the performance.
Ooh.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure I get the performance done.
All right. So you're able to get relatively close. Then what do you want to do once you're they don't like immediately attempt to stab you in the face. So
I want. What does it look like these three are doing here?
drinking, sitting around the fire.
Right. I would like to just approach with the bottle in my hand and have it like I'm going to cheers with them, and then with the other hand, I want to stab him with a dagger.
All right.
Well, that escalated quickly.
This is why I
Yeah.
wanted to go with him.
Assassin, he wants it. He has to try to do his thing. So I'll use the new dagger. And it would be this one. A 12.
I mean, do you still have your D6?
No, I used it last week.
Ah.
So, because he's drunk, you attempt to stab at him, but he kind of not trying to dodge you, just can't sit up straight. And then as you're plunging the dagger down, he just kind of slides off to the side as he's a little drunk.
Yeah.
But having done that, the others, this guy in particular over here, notices that, and everybody can roll initiative.
Yeah.
Yay.
I have one thing I'm good at, and I can't even do it.
Oh,
Yay.
yeah, you probably have time for that.
You want to roll initiative for? Well, she's not. I guess she probably wouldn't be in the initiative order, Aster. So
Yeah, probably what act on the
I
same
did
turn.
try. She got a 4.
all right. So having heard, all right, seen that that guy sort of starts to get up and start moving, and Callum, you were first, obviously. So
Yep. All right. Seeing that, I was like, all right, here we go. Deep breath. Starts taking off like a bolt for the group. That is.
so when
50.
you're here, you can see that these guys are around the fire are all kind of still. They're the ones that appear a bit drunk, but this guy over here is the one who noticed it and has stood up.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see what we can do about that then. In that case, slightly different routing. Can get to there with my normal movement. We'll use bonus action and a key point for Step of the Wind to dash. And running up to this person, just seeing them come to attention. Callum is just coming up and is going for just like a straight like throat strike, body blow combo. Wow. And
Wow.
missing twice.
And look at the other rolls. The 25 and a 26 and a 9 and a 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, he saw you coming and he
Yep.
he dodges out of the way. He's a little quicker than you were assuming he would be.
Mm-hmm. And given that Callum does have a bunch of a dash left, though, he will back off, and that will be his turn.
Alrighty. Signe.
Bunch of silly walnuts. I'll get to here and just take the dodge action.
Okay. And you can move Aster with you. We'll assume that she's at your heel.
Dodge one, girl.
Righty. So this guy will clumsily sort of stand up and move over towards the man who just tried to stab his buddy. And he will pull out a sword and swing twice at Griswold.
17.
I'm going to strike you with my sword.
Yes, it is a scimitar. It's a 23 on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
That is 6 points of slashing damage, and then he swings again. But like as he cut you and he pulled his sword back, he kind of stumbled a little bit, and then off balance tries to swing again and completely misses.
Thank goodness.
All right, I'll just control Johan for now. I'm just gonna make him war pick everybody.
Sounds about right.
Pick him apart, buddy.
So he's gonna come up there, and it is Arvid's turn.
Okay, through movement, I can get to about there. And is it clear to see 3 wobbly people?
Yeah, I mean you can see one of them appears slightly less wobbly now, but
Yeah.
this guy and this guy would still be sitting down. This guy's the one who pulled his sword out, and this is the guy that Callum tried to hit, but you wouldn't have seen that. So
If that's the case, it's probably not gonna do any better than it usually would. But I'm gonna racially blow out some smoke and cast Sleep on a 20-foot area. So I roll 5d8. Yeah, I can pretty much get them all.
can you get them?
I didn't know if
without
it was a
doing
circle
this
or a square.
It just says 20 foot within 20 feet of your opponent.
Yeah, within 20 feet of a point you choose, so it would actually
Yeah,
be
I'd get
a
them
big
all.
one.
So it affects the one with the least amount of hit points first. I'm kind of going for maybe because they're inebriated, it may affect it, but probably not.
No one has that low hit points, so
Well, luckily
Worth
it
a shot.
didn't cost me a spell slot, and it's like,
yeah.
maybe
you can't
drunk
do anything
enough. Yeah, that's it.
All right. So this guy will continue his plan of getting up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to run over here, and as he gets here, those of you that can't see, you hear a loud ringing bell, and that's his turn. It is
Alright.
Griswold's turn.
All right, now Matt, real quick. Sitting does not equal prone, right? So I wouldn't get advantage, or would I?
No, he's not prone.
Okay. In that case, just I will unsheath my short sword, and as I unsheath it, slash up at this guy, and then follow it up with an offhand dagger strike. So, the short sword main hand attack, missing, and then the dagger offhand, hitting. There would be no plus damage there.
So is it the guy that attacked you or the guy that was sitting?
The guy that is attacking me currently. It would have just been the 5 and 3. So 8 points of damage.
I mean, wouldn't you have got an assassinate attacking the one who hasn't gone yet in initiative?
It's not. I think it's once initiative starts, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, so technically, how surprise works is you just either have the surprise condition or you don't, and the initiative
No, it
goes.
does say you have an advantage on any attack roll against a creature that hasn't made or hasn't taken a turn in the combat yet.
Mhm.
So I guess that'd be up to you, Matt.
Mm.
I mean, if you want to switch the attack to the other guy, that's fine.
I'd be sure, yeah, because then I would actually get the sneak attack too, and it would be the crit. So it'd be 9 plus 4 is 13, and then 2 sneak attack rolls. I thought, for some reason, I thought it had to be in a surprise round.
I think the advantage does not, but the auto crit does. You might want to double check that.
This is what I have for assassinate.
Advantage against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet, and hits against are crits against surprised creatures. So he's not surprised anymore.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so it wouldn't be the crit.
So minus
So then-
5 damage.
And the first hit would have hit him too. So 8 plus 9 is 17. And I will just stay there. Kind of yelling over my shoulder, you hear the bell?
Well, that guy just now been stabbed and it is gonna get up and attempt to do the same to you.
That is rude.
Like his buddy, hits on the first and whiffs on the second one, and also 6 points of slashing damage. And same
right.
thing. He's bleeding now. He's drunk, off balance. Luckily, hits the first and then swings wide on the second. So,
Alrighty.
Ragna.
Ragna is going to run all the way over here. She yells back, "I can't deal with the bell," and is gonna just slash at the one there with her sword. Slashing twice.
Both hit.
And there.
Wow. Both max
Wow.
damage.
Wow. Yeah, he like you come in and just like start just slicing this guy up, and he is like his eyes go wide, and he's just like, you know, these massive gashes, and just sheer shock in his eyes at this point. Anything else?
Nope, that is it.
All right. So the other guy at the fire is going to get up and he's going to scream really loud. And he's going to come over and attack Ragna. He pulls out a massive axe and he will attack you recklessly. So you will have advantage against him.
Matt gets to
Ooh.
play a barbarian.
I know. All right. It's a good thing I did do it recklessly. Otherwise, I would have missed terribly. So he swipes at you twice with his axe, doing a total of 18 points of slashing damage.
Ouch. And Ragna is going to use a first level spell slot for her reaction to cast. Did it go? Hellish Rebuke.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
An 11.
Yay.
So
So,
he takes 10
barbarian friend gets damaged.
points he would take 5 points of fire damage.
Kind of weird ass barbarian is he, where he only takes half fire.
Bear.
Totem, right?
Yeah, like bear
Bear
totem.
totem.
Gotcha. Good call, guys.
Or he's just not human and has fire resistance through his race.
We actually found the guy that Callum's been looking for.
Yes. And it is Callum's turn.
Okay. How does it look getting across these boxes here?
For a monk, not too bad.
Okay. All right then. That takes me 30 to get to there. Gonna take one just in passing as I come in at this guy. Just swipe just for the temple with the quarterstaff. Pow.
Ow.
And
Yeah, you just
then
get this big old mark across his forehead, and
Yep.
he stumbles back, and
And as he does, keep on going. To here. Come with the other end, this time going for the knee. That one's much lower. 5 bludgeoning. And then, if that's connected at a 19,
oh yeah, it does.
then as that's striking the knee, Callum's going to just let go and come up with an elbow and try to just strike. Yeah, I can't actually do a shove with my bonus action, so yeah. That will just be another strike against this gentleman here. Another 6 bludgeoning. How hardy does this guy look?
Not particularly. He's wearing like he's not wearing any armor. He's just wearing like robes, like just like not robes like an actual robe, but just like cloth. He's just wearing like, regular clothes. He's not armored.
Okay. He seems like he's holding up relatively well to getting bludgeoned twice, though, still.
I mean, he looks like you would imagine that he is probably not much of a fighter, and he is certainly hurt more than the guys behind you will say.
Okay. I think that's still just going to be Callum's turn, because he will stay here and try to draw a little attention.
Alrighty. Signet.
I'd like to bonus action rage. See, that's 30. Yeah.
Don't you have 40 clear barbarian? Or
Oh
do
my
you not
God,
get
you're
extra movement
right.
yet?
You do.
Level 5, I believe, is when you get that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to make an attack against that guy.
With advantage, because he is reckless.
I think it hits.
Yeah, it does.
Oh.
I see your axe is as big as mine. Let's see how you wield it.
Believe it or not, because you have advantage, a 13 hits him.
Hot damn.
Solid.
So let's see, what do we got for our totals here?
39.
Okay, so yeah, you do a big chunk out of this guy, but you can tell he's enjoying it. He's excited.
Seeing him excited makes me very excited. We're having
We're
You're
having
bonding.
fun. All right.
what's the battlefield equivalent to hate fucking?
Well,
Because I feel
All
like
right.
this
Called
would
fighting.
be
yeah, pretty much.
it. Fair enough.
Alrighty, let's see. Griswold. What's your AC? 17?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy in front of you here, still again, a little bit drunk and also sliced up from Ragna, swings wildly and misses you twice.
Thank goodness.
And it is Johan's turn. 10, 15, 25, 30. What spells does he have?
Spirit Guardians, I know that one.
Seems a little early for Spirit Guardians.
Hey, I'm just saying, you asked, that's the only one I know he has.
Hey, I love the combination of Spirit Guardians and Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he will, since this guy's more the clear shot, he will cast Chill Touch. And miss him. So it is Arvid's turn.
Arvid will move to here to try and get a clearer view through the melee. And I see the guy at the bell. And he will attempt to launch a bolt through, freeing up Callum to come back and render assistance. So it's just the 9 damage, but he has to make a DC 15 strength save or fall prone.
Wow. This man is weak, but I rolled a 17. But he's looking pretty hurt.
Well, he's just been hit with a bucket of water, basically.
That's terrifying, so.
That's it for me.
Alrighty. It is now that man's turn. Callum, go ahead and do a swipe at him as he's going to run away.
Absolutely. Oh, man. He's doing good.
You need to buy that other quarterstaff.
It didn't give me any bonuses to hit.
And he will use his action to run further away. All right. Griswold.
All right.
Oh, actually,
Staying at-
hold on. I need to add the bell ringers to the initiative.
Oh, was he not the bell ringer? I thought he was.
Sorry. The ones who were awoken by the bell need to be added.
Lovely.
bell hearers.
Yes. Oops.
Nah, bells are just ye old fire alarm. I think we all mean the newly deafened.
Matt, the last two rolled on.
That's fine. And one more. Give me a second. Because I forgot again to do what Shane told me to do and go and change that in the game settings. Alrighty. I'm just gonna. That order is not. I'm not gonna actually sort their order. I'm just gonna leave them where they are at the end. But I just want them to be in there. So, Griswold.
All right. Well, seeing what's going on, I am going to take a spin away from the guy I've been attacking and start attacking this one up here. So I'm going to try to stab at him in the gut with my short sword, and then hopefully get a reaction and aim for his neck with the dagger. So the short sword is a crit with the sneak attack. So 24, 33 damage.
Yeah, he is very, very hurt.
Okay. And following it up with a dagger, trying to go for the kill at his throat. No, that is the wrong one. That is the short sword. No, that was Shadow Song, right?
Yep.
Yeah. 13, I think, misses, though.
It does.
All right. So I will just hold my weapons at the ready and stand there waiting for the next turn.
All right. It is the guy next to you on the other side. Man, I have not hit twice yet. He hits with the first and misses with the second again. And another exact 6 points of damage.
Alrighty.
And then go ahead and take attack of opportunity as well on him.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it, I will. I was gonna say I might want to save my reaction,
Yeah, you might
but
want to. Yeah, it's up to
nah.
you.
I'm going to go ahead and swipe at him with the short sword for 12 points of damage.
All right. So yeah, you stab him in the back of the legs as he is going to take off towards Callum.
Okay.
And it is Ragnar's turn.
Okay. Ragna is gonna glance at Signa and say, "You have the big one?"
I have what? I'm sorry.
The big one.
Oh, the
As
big
in
one.
this one.
Yeah. Sorry, I heard Rigrom. I was like, I don't know. Oh yeah.
Then she's gonna attack this one and let her sister take that one. Continue her assault on this man. Probably miss the second time.
Yep.
He gets wise to her ways of attack. 9 slashing.
Actually, he didn't get wise. He just died. So
Oh.
it was close. You know how it always ends up with like 1 hit point left. That time, Griswold left him with 2 hit points.
He did learn from experience, just a moment too late.
Yes.
Ragna would have focused the other one on this one, although 12 would have missed anyway.
It did it. Yeah.
And that's what she's gonna do.
So you stab him once, and he starts to collapse, and you're so jazzed up. You swing again, and you miss because he's falling to the ground, dying as you're swinging.
Mhm.
So, all right, it is the barbarian's turn, and being excited by seeing another axe wielder, he will recklessly attack Signe, screaming and yelling in heightened fury. 21 and a 19. I did you both. Okay. So, wow. It's a good thing that you are a barbarian, because he would have just kicked the crap out of you. So, let's see.
Don't you threaten me with a good time.
So you take 14 points of slashing damage. God, I swear I hate Roll20 so much. I gotta stop this. This music is so irritating because I have so many songs and it keeps playing the same ones over and over again. It's like I've got 50 combat songs and I've already heard the same 3 like 5 times. So annoying. All right. So it is Callum's turn.
All right. Well, Callum's last friend just ran away, and at this point, that seems like a lost cause. Trying to stop the alarm, if he is inclined to raise it, he will have already gotten people's attention. And now there's someone come to say hi to Callum, and so he will turn around. Actually, not even turn around. Guy comes up behind him. It's literally bring the butt end of the staff straight up behind him, like a groin shot.
All right.
And it's just assuming that hits, then
It did.
flip it back over the top so the other end strikes him on top of the head.
All right. So you can see, after getting smacked like that, if you could read it in his eyes, he's like, "I've made a mistake," and he's still up, but he
Mhm.
looks very, very hurt.
And then since he has a bonus action attack, having landed that second hit, he just picks up his foot and does a kick straight backwards at this gentleman.
Still up, still regretting his decision.
And you know what? It feels appropriate that he would be sickened after this, so Callum will spend a key point to make that a hand of harm. So it's another 7 necrotic, and he's poisoned.
And he's dead.
He would make that non-lethal damage, which is an option. So he's unconscious.
Let's just use that.
That's fine. And then seeing the fight continuing over here, but knowing that he is kind of out of juice at the moment, Callum would scoot to here in the hopes of potentially provoking this barbarian towards him. And that would be his turn.
All right. Signe, you have advantage on this guy. So I will say, since you're not a ranger, you would have to use one of your. I can't let you do 3 attacks without being an actual
That's
having
fair.
any ranger classes. You can ask her to move there, and then would, like I said, she, unlike everybody else, since I'm not letting flanking. I mean, you could, even though he would give advantage, like if you wanted to move her here, that would give Ragna advantage on him if he like wasn't. So I'll let
Sure.
you
I
tell
mean,
her to move places, but
sure. I'll have her move over there, and I'll totally give up my second attack so she can have that first attack. Would that work?
yeah, you can do it. You can do that way.
Just because I think it'd be cool to actually use her. So
So yeah, she runs around, tries to hamstring the guy as wolves tend to do. And yeah, she would definitely connect, and he is between your axe and her bite. He is looking pretty rough.
and that's it for me.
That guy's dead. So it is Johann's turn. He really can't get to this guy, so he's going to just cast Chill Touch again at the, in this case for the barbarian, and miss terribly. Oh no, he would have advantage on him. So they can't regain hit points on him, so he wouldn't anyway. And he's not undead, so that didn't really do a whole lot. All right, it is Arvid's turn.
Um, considering the bells rang and our friend has run off, I will attempt to make this situation a bit more favourable. And whilst I'm casting Aqueous Bolt at the light source, I loudly exclaim to Callum and Johan, "Douse the fire, please."
And this is on the barbarian?
No, I'm dousing the fire.
Oh, that's just a torch, but...
Yeah. Well, fight the light sources, basically.
He's snuffing their will to live.
Nope.
I'm trying to remove any possible sight they have. Yeah.
So the map will still show it because that's the way it is, but I removed the light source that I added, so...
Yeah. But, yeah, so I've put that out there, so if other people wish to start dousing lights, it's up to them. And that's me.
Right. So you hear some shouting and movement from further into the cave. Some of you see a couple people. And it is Griswold's turn.
All right. So this guy is still standing. Griswold will try to. He's gonna step on this guy's body to get on the side of him, and aim his short sword for the chest area, trying to puncture. Stabbing it in. 15.
Yep.
Also with sneak attack, since he is near people, so 20 damage total.
He is dead.
Right. And then, so that was 5 movement, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'll go over here, and can I use my bonus action to try to hide in, like, some of these crates in this area?
Yep. Nice.
And that is it.
All right. So that guy's unconscious. It is Ragnar's turn.
Okay, Regna is going to. She will run over here, the nearby unconscious guy, and she's
Stab
going
him in
to.
the neck. Oh, sorry.
No, she's gonna hold
Someone's
her
gonna
action.
do it eventually, I'm sure.
She'll hold her action to slice at the first person who gets within 5 feet of her.
Alrighty. Callum.
Well, Callum's going to take a quick glance around. Is there any obvious way for a man with no magic to put out a campfire quickly nearby?
No, because most of the liquid you see is alcohol.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So, Callum will just sigh a little, look around, see people coming. Hey, let's throw some punches. Comes in with a good old jab and then upswing. 13s. Jab miss, upswing miss. He'll switch to just a straight up like punch to the nose. 14.
Nope.
And
you-
fail all of that. Let's see, that was 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And so, like, as you run up there and do that, you can see that he is just sort of laughing in your face, and he's got that terrible, like,
Mm-hmm.
this guy hasn't brushed his teeth maybe ever, that kind of breath in your face, rotten, sick,
Awful.
tooth decay and all of that. These guys are not drunk; they were just sleeping, so they
Bit tougher.
a little
Gotcha.
more, a little tougher. So,
Well, that is all of Callum's movement to get back to there.
alrighty. Signe, it is your turn. Aster is probably eating the berserker at this point.
Good girl.
I'm just waiting for Aster to kill someone instead of letting Signe kill when they start hating each other.
Well, Aster may be the one that would be inclined to go and kill the unconscious guy. So that is the unconscious guy, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoops.
I mean, you can do that if you want to, but otherwise, keep moving.
He is unconscious on the ground.
Well, she needs to keep her rage up.
She's got thrown weapons. And 40 feet of movement.
Yeah, you could actually get one step closer, I think, from where you were.
Oh, I didn't realize I could. Yeah, then
Yeah,
I'll just keep
that's
my
40. I think that
original
was just
attacks.
35 where you were. Okay. Yeah, obviously all of those hit. So
Please ignore the javelin. That's when I thought I couldn't reach.
So yeah, you cleave into him a couple times, and he's not laughing anymore, but you get the same, lovely bouquet of breath now that he's in your face. It is Johan's turn. He'll come over here. Can't really do anything else. Arvid.
Seeing that lights are not being extinguished, change of plan.
All of
then.
you, buddy.
Yeah.
I think we might have been able to do torches, but the campfire is too much for us without magic.
Okay, seeing that the light trick's not going to do it, if anyone's watching what he does, Arvid will stick his hand into the ground, run it in the direction of the oncomers, and once his hand starts leaving in a claw shape, the earth underneath them will erupt into spikes. So I will cast... Where is it? There it is.
Arvid cast Misery.
It's a lovely spell.
So,
Oh,
20...
not the spell I expected.
No, I'm casting Erupting Earth.
So what's the range on that, or what's the area of this?
So it's a 20-foot cube. Yeah, so it's... It's basically that. They all need to make a dex save, or take half. And it's now difficult terrain unless they wish to spend a minute clearing it. No, Signa's not in it.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was. I was like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, so the guy in front fails. The guy there succeeds, so half. And then the other guy.
Why? What spell did you think I was casting?
Fails.
I thought you were casting Spike Growth.
I mean, I have it, just not prepared.
I know you do as a druid, and also your description, I was like, oh, that's a Spike Growth. Lovely. I love Spike Growth.
No, I thought I'd try one of my big damaging spells. Oh.
Alrighty, I'm going to remove this guy from the turn order because he is no longer in combat with the rest of you, so he has run away.
Good for him.
So it is this guy right here, so he will just attempt to attack Signe in his face. Misses with the first one, it connects with the second one, and you take 9/4 points of slashing damage. Right. So difficult terrain, 10, 20. All right, he will also attack Signe. And miss both times.
Yay!
Huzzah.
All right, let me... All right, so this guy will stand back. He's going to pull out his crossbow and shoot at Signe. That's a critical. And what's your AC or AC? 16.
16.
So he hits you twice with heavy crossbow. That is, let me just get the total on half.
Did my am I able to use my birthday boon to change that?
It's succeeding on your rolls, not
On my rolls. Okay, I couldn't remember. Thank you.
Yeah. So you would take, I can't do math, 8 points of piercing damage as 2 heavy crossbow bolts come at you. This guy's going to step out of that and then go here. And then he is going to crossbow bolt Ragna. It's a 20 and a 12.
20 hits.
So 10 points of piercing damage.
Okie dokie.
Alrighty, Griswold.
Right. So there's new guys moving up. If I were to
cast your AoE spell.
if I were to move up here, would I be able to hit him, or would he be too far around the corner from this square?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would the wall technically. I just didn't want to close off the wall right there, but yeah,
Okay.
It's essentially showing that the wall's going up. So they're both Signe and that guy are pretty much against the wall.
Okay. All right. So I will move up to this guy then to make room for everyone else. And I'm gonna hold my attack until. Wait. All right. Can I use my bonus action to dodge and then still hold my attack, or do I have to choose all of that on the same time?
Can you use your bonus action to dodge at all?
Yeah, I'm a rogue.
Dash,
Oh, wait.
disengage, and hide.
Yeah. Shit.
Dodge
Alright,
is a monk
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna wait to attack until someone else is in range to give me advantage.
Okay. Unconscious guy. I'll just remove him too. Ragna.
Makes sense.
Okay. Ragna is going to 5, 10. Come up here and I guess just attack the one in front of her with 2 big slashes from her long sword.
And can I let my attack go on this guy then, Matt?
Yep.
I'll roll after she does.
I assume second one definitely misses.
It does.
For 10 slashing, and she's gonna throw a smite in there as well. Smite. Smite.
Alrighty.
And would I still get sneak attack damage? I would, right? Since I didn't use it yet this turn?
Yep.
Okay. So it's 16 for me total on the top guy.
Yep. Callum. Lots of change. A lot has changed since you last.
Yeah. Namely that I can't reach anything. So, seeing the current situation, not particularly liking that I can't reach what I need to reach. Callum, how? Yeah, that's what we gotta do. Callum is going to... Where is it? There we go. You watch as Callum takes a bit of cloth that he's kept on his person and rummages around. Just picks up a couple loose stones, and he's just going to make a pair of sling attacks. Let's go with this fancy one up here.
Hit.
Max damage.
Yeah, this guy looks real bad.
Just
if we were playing 4E, he would be beyond bloodied at this point.
Yeah, it is just hit with a couple of particularly nice smooth stones, and Callum will scoot up.
Convenient. There's even stone pictures on the map. You can just
Yeah, and that's his turn.
All right, Signe, you got Mr. Bad Breath right in front of you. And actually, that killed the 19 was enough.
Yeah, no, exactly just go for the second guy then.
Yeah, he had exactly 19 hit points.
Nice. Love when it works out like that.
All right, so then 10 on this guy. Do you want to move?
Nope.
So I think Johan can get on top of this guy. And then he will war pick him. For 7 points. All right. Arvid.
Well, as I can not erupt the earth, it's just going to stay like that until people sort it out. I will instead notice some crossbow bolts coming from the back, and he'll attempt to jump on top of a barrel, and he will throw a bolt at the top one. And requires a strength save, please.
19.
Well, fair enough. And that's it for me.
Alright, that guy's dead. Ooh. So, Ragna and Signa, you both are going to get attacks of opportunity on this guy, because he doesn't want to be here anymore. And this is even worse because he's not going to get away because he's in all these earth eruptions. Ragnar misses him though.
Mm-hmm.
But Signa kills him, so it doesn't matter. That's how you like to do it, right? You kill a guy out not on your turn.
Oh, that's the best way to do it.
So he attempts to flee, and as he's turning, he kind of gets caught up in this difficult terrain, and then Signa just 2 hands up in the air and just slams her axe into his spine or his head, whichever, but he is gone. Well, this guy, having seen that, is actually gonna back up a little bit here and then shoot another crossbow bolt at. Well,
Shoot
having
me,
seen
I
that,
dare you.
now he's gonna, since he just saw Signa split a guy in half, I think he's gonna go for her.
Second best option.
So a 19 and a 21. So
Yeah.
another 7 points. That's halved. So 7 points of piercing damage. And then it is this guy, and he will actually pull out longsword and attack Griswold twice. A
Right.
19 and a 25 critical hit.
I will half the critical with my uncanny dodge.
All right. So first, the non-crit is 8 points of slashing damage.
All right.
The critical would be 17, so you would take 8.
All right.
So 16 total between the two.
All right.
All right. This guy back here is going to step up, and he will shoot crossbow bolt at. Let's see. Let me do a roll on my. He's going to shoot at Griswold.
Okay.
That's another crit, but he misses on the second one.
All right. I'm probably going down.
No, you're not. With a crit, it's still only. I rolled badly, so you still take 8.
Okay.
But it's your turn.
All
Having
right.
got cut up and smacked
yeah.
with crossbow bolts.
Yep. So, first thing first, as always, I am. Is this guy like wearing armor? It looks like.
He is.
All right. I am aiming for a spot to try to find a hole in the armor and just jab my short sword through it. 15.
Nope.
Nope. All right. And then for my bonus action, I will disengage, and I am running back over here. And
Alright.
that is my turn.
Ragna.
Okay, Ragna's gonna try something fun she has not tried before. She's gonna lift one finger up to her cheek, raise the other finger, make a circle in the air, and cast. Where are you? Crown of Madness on the back one.
What is Crown of Madness do?
That is a cool fucking spell.
It is.
It really is.
It's a DC 15 Wisdom save.
Which she fails.
Yay! So Ragna's gonna make a melee attack the Dragonborn friend.
So on its turn, it uses an action to attack him.
On each of its turns to make a melee attack. Okay. Alright. So
He's
charming.
got a fun crown just floating above his head.
Alright. Callum.
Well, hey, looks like there's a spot for Callan to move up. So, seeing this opening, Callum had to technically drop his staff last turn, so he just takes the sling, pockets it, comes up to here, and is going to just come right in and is like, headshot, body blow, body blow. Well, there we go. I'm assuming the 11s all miss.
They do.
But
Well,
that last body blow is 14 magical bludgeoning.
Is it non-lethal bludgeoning?
Yes, it is. Always, Callums are always non-lethal.
All right. He is unconscious.
And that was only like 10 feet of movement. Callum has seen these guys shooting. He is going to... $30, $40, $50. He'll get to there. That's his turn.
All right.
55. He'll get out of the difficult terrain. There we go. 55. He likes it right there.
Signe. You got javelin throws or moving through some difficult terrain?
Yeah, okay. I guess either way, I'm still going to be stuck in the muck. Wait. Is there a dead guy underneath the guy in front of me?
Yeah. Dead
Guy in
guy.
front of you is our
is-
guy.
Johan is
Oh,
in front
okay.
of you.
I
but Johan is
misunderstood.
Johan is standing on top of the dead guy that's in front of you.
Okay, I was very confused for a minute. Thank you.
Are we throwing it at the Dragonborn?
I'm going to throw it at the cunt that keeps shooting me.
He's enthralled by your sister.
Okay, yeah, I'll throw it at the Dragonborn.
You wouldn't know that. Well, I guess you would. You would see the thing over his head.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would have seen Ragna do some freaky magic stuff
Yeah.
and a crown appear.
One of the downsides, or upsides in this case, of Crown of Thorns, very clear you have charmed someone.
Yes.
Does it matter though? Does taking damage affect it?
I
It
don't think
doesn't
so.
look like it.
The biggest drawback of Crown of Thorns is just if his buddy's not standing next to him on his turn, he just gets to act normally anyway. Oh, and Ragna has to keep using her action every turn to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it is Johan's turn. He's going to back up a little bit, and he will cast Cure Wounds on Griswold
Yay.
for 9.
All right.
And it is Arvid's turn.
Seeing as things are becoming relatively under control out of everything that's just happened, he'll fire off a bolt at the Dragonborn. For
Just waiting for some lore to say that the Dragonborn don't exist in the Age of Arcanum.
yeah.
And then it'll all be ruined. The 14 misses.
Yeah, I figured as much. Do I want to waste any healing yet?
No.
No, not yet. So, I'm good.
All right. It is the enthralled man's turn. He will attack the Dragonborn twice with a 7 and a 24. So 12 points of slashing damage to the Dragonborn. And that man is unconscious. And it is... So here's the other thing. Does this guy get an attack of opportunity on his own buddy?
Nope. It's only he just has to use his action on his turn.
All right.
And actually, because he had a turn, he gets a wisdom save too to end the effect.
DC 50.
17.
Darn it. Okay. It's okay. It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he took 12 points of damage.
Callum's AC is 18.
A 20 and 22.
Those both hit.
So 15 points total slashing damage.
Fair.
So this rather large, angry-looking dragonborn seems a little, I don't know, I guess looking at his face looks a little vacant. Not all there. It is Griswold's turn.
All right. I don't really want to get back in the middle of all that shit, so yeah, I'm sure Callum won't notice. I'm going to kill this guy.
Callum can't see it from here.
Yep.
I don't know, you must have just bled out. I don't know.
No idea. That's not a sword mark in his throat. What are you talking about? And I'm running back here, and I'm bonus action hiding.
Yeah, Arvid definitely didn't just see that.
Well, Johan would have seen it too.
Oh, I don't care who else saw it. I just,
Well,
as
yeah,
long as Caleb didn't see it.
Regna.
Ragna is going to 25, 30, and then, yeah, she'll use her action to 35, 40, 50, 55, 60. Yay! She made it. And that's all she can do.
Callum.
Well, I have a friend up in my face,
You do.
so that's going to be another few pops.
This man is wearing very heavy plate armor.
Well,
First
a
one
20.
hits.
I was going to say 23, I bet, still. For a whole 7 bludgeoning. Which is sufficient to let Callum. You say he's wearing very heavy plate armor?
Indeed.
Yeah, you know what? No. For a second I was like, maybe we do something more severe to him, but I don't think so. I think Callum just uses this opportunity to scoot away.
And as you do, he's like, "Run, little man!"
I mean, gets off one little good clean shot on the nose and just is off.
All right.
Eyeballing
see ya.
it.
"17 misses, 27 hits."
That's my little man.
All right. So yeah, he's staggered back a little bit, but still standing. So
When the separate whistle, I'd like to move. Just, there's like be a guard dog now. That's all.
right. Man, I really don't even know what to do with Johan.
What are you telling me? You've never played a necromancer before, Matthew?
I'm rolling that just to see what it is because I don't know what that is. So yeah, he's not gonna do that. I didn't. What's the range on this? 60 feet. All right, so he's gonna step up here, and he is going to attempt to cause fear in the Dragonborn. The DC. Wisdom. It's a wisdom save. All right. All right. That did not work. Dragonborn is not afeared. So it is Arvid's turn.
Yeah, as it doesn't seem we're gaining any more company at the moment, I'll just continue to assist with basically suppressing fire at this stage, so we can get this situation under control. And I'll aim for the one next to Ragnar. God damn it, the crit's always on the second dice. But yeah, 9 points of damage and a strength save, please.
And you said it is this guy, right?
The one next to Ragnar.
Yeah. Okay. All right, strength save. 16.
He's still standing. Better than he ever did. He's looking like a true survivor.
All right, so he will attempt to attack Ragnar twice. Longsword for longsword. 16 and a 10.
Miss both.
All right. So the Dragonborn is going to turn around and use Fire Breath on Signa and Ragna.
And Signe gets the +4 bonus.
So it is a dexterity saving throw. So Ragna takes 12 points of fire damage and Signa takes 24.
Yeah, because I think that save would be 17 for Signa.
Oh yeah, what's the standard bonus that she got?
+4.
So yeah, this is a 13 plus 4, so that's a 17 she's rolling.
Okay, so yeah, you don't need to do your fanatical focus. You would also take 12.
Ragna looks pretty hurt at this point.
And with that, he is going to move up, and then he will actually swing at Ragna.
Okay.
And miss wildly. And it is Griswold's turn.
Right? 5, 10, 15. I could get to right here, including the difficult terrain. How does this guy look, the Dragonborn?
Oh, he looks beat to crap.
All right. I still have a loose regular dagger, so I'm gonna throw with my main hand dagger with the Shadow Song. I'm gonna throw it at him. And then I will follow it up with an offhand throw with a regular dagger. So the first one, probably missing horribly. And the second one is throwing with the offhand. 24.
That hits.
With the sneak attack.
And that's funny because he had 3 hit points. So again, you took him down to 1 without the sneak attack. So
all right.
dagger right through his eye, and he is out.
Right, and I know I can't really do anything, but I just want to kick this guy just a little bit. Doesn't have to do any damage. I just don't like him.
All right, Ragna.
Ragna, before she attacks, will just yell, "I see 2 people in this direction," and then attack the guy in front of her. Trying to get at his armor and failing, I assume.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, she just was there.
Callum.
Let's see. Well, Ragnar said she saw someone to the north, right?
Yeah,
Callum
she
hasn't
saw
seen it. I was going to say
to the
Callum is
north.
in the direction because there's definitely no one down here that Callum's seen. So that's 45 feet of movement. Callum runs up, and this guy is still just looking dazed and confused, so that's a quick flurry of kicks to the side, hedge, hip, wherever he can reach.
The 19 hits.
It should only be the 9. But he's not going to try to push through there quite yet, so he'll just fall back.
Right.
And
Signet.
that's his turn.
No. You stumbled over the body and missed on your strikes.
Catching up to me. But not yet.
Right. Johan can move to there. And he's just gonna stay there. Because he doesn't really have a whole lot of offensive spells besides Spirit Guardian, so he needs that war pick. Arvid.
Harvard will start to move forward, considering he's just heard that more people are on the way. And for now, he'll still attempt to finish off the 1. Seven damage.
And he fails the strength check.
Yay!
Ooh.
So he's knocked on his ass.
Man, this guy's getting battered all over the place. It's like enthralled, falling on the ground. Attacks his own guy.
Both Ragnar and Signe look a bit worse for wear.
Ragnar looks pretty hurt.
Okay. Then, as a bonus action, Arvid will speak in Sylvan, and we use the Balm of the Sealy Court. I'll use 2 doses, so that's 2d6. 1 second. You gain 9 hit points and 2 temporary hit points.
Ragnar will smile back at you briefly because she kind of understood the Sylvan and she got excited.
Yeah, that's bonus. That's good to go.
All right, so Ragnar, Signe, attacks of opportunity on this man who's getting up with his movement and running away. Both of you.
Nice.
Yeah. Just the 13.
Once again, gets up, tries to run, dead.
I cackle.
Here's a quick
He
high
gives like,
five.
high five, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so there is certainly more to come, but it's 10:30, so we will. I don't normally like to stop in the middle of what is essentially combat, but you've cleared out this area, so it's as good a place as we're gonna get to stop.
Seems fair.
Fair enough.
So, because I would normally go on, but I have a feeling that the rest of this combat could take like another hour or so, so I don't want to drag it on that long. So